All right, yo, what's up? This is Shadow Rock and Profo One of the Floor Gangs and Knucklehead Tribe,
And this JaSoul from Eternal Style and BTR Breaking.
and you're watching Gearheadz, the podcast about hacking, culture, and movement. And we have a special guest today, hailing from New Jersey via Texas, my man, aka Top Rock Master, aka the Saxophone Master. Why not?
Oh my gosh, what's up? What's up? Peace.
What's up,
That's an
man?
intro right
So
there.
yeah, so Jay, why don't you tell us about how you ended up over at Lubbock, Texas, man?
Man, as I was talking about last week, I'm on my way through Texas to move. I'm actually relocating in Houston, relocating myself, my life, my movement, BTR Breaking, and I'm trying to see what it's all about down here, man. And it happens that Lubbock, is that how you say it?
I have no idea.
Lubbock, Texas. Many of you might know this place for Texas Tech. They're big in sports, football. It's a big college town, basically, up here in northern Texas. And it is on the way to my final destination. And yeah, we're stopping over here at the Mad Lab with the mad scientist, Bboy Ynot. And yeah, that's pretty much what's going on, man. I did stop over in Albuquerque right before this. That was my first leg of the trip. Shout outs to B Girl P Love and Montse from Zia Queens out in Albuquerque. They did host me last night. Caught a little session out there. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. I do hope to make it back and reconnect. And it's an awesome scene down there. Have you ever been to Albuquerque, Profo?
Yes, I have. New Mexico,
Bro.
yeah. I've been to obviously I went out there, had what do they call it? The fried bread? Forgot what they called it, but it was really
It's called a
good.
donut, my friend.
No, it's not donut. It's not a donut.
Fried
So I
bread.
forgot the name. But yeah, I've been out there. But before we ask all the other questions, let me ask this question because like I thought you were still in Minnesota, Tony. Like I didn't realize that you basically transferred over to Texas. So can you talk about that? Like how long you've been back in how long you've been in Texas, and what did you finish over at Minnesota to go over there?
It was Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, my bad. No, my bad. I
Yeah,
thought it was Minnesota. My bad.
yeah. I went to I was teaching at University of Wisconsin Milwaukee for a year and a half, and then I got an offer here at Texas Tech, uh, back last summer, and then negotiations back and forth happened, and then I ended up coming here in January. So now I'm here, and I just signed a year with them, so I know I'll be here at least for a year after this. So I was pretty much a guest artist this first semester, but now I'm going to be here for a year for sure.
Oh,
So that's
crazy.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
tight, man. This gives me hope in the education system that people actually from the culture with intelligence on a bunch of different topics and levels, but mainly within the arts, within design, within production, and everything else you do. I definitely want to hear more about what your curriculum is like and what you are offering to essentially the general public. But yeah, it gives me hope within the schooling system because all we hear is that it is an older, outdated system that does not serve anybody. But there is benefits of it, and yeah, I guess that's a good place to start. We are here today to talk about musicality, and there's no one better to talk to in the scene than B-Boy Ynot. And if you guys already know, you know, but you'll know why if you don't know yet. If you don't know, after this, you will know why. But yeah, so I guess that's a good place to start. Like, how did you get into the university setting with what you're doing?
um, well, I went to school for computer science. That was my first degree. So I got my bachelor's in computer science 2003. Um, getting into school for design was like my main thing, and architecture. So those are two things that I was really into, going to school. So I did a lot of it was early web design, and I actually decided to switch my focus because I had a feeling that web was turning into something else. Like I already kind of foresaw that, and I was like, what design is cool, but I feel like that's going to be a different user experience in the years to come, you know? So I was like, I'm not really thinking that that's the direction I want to go. So I went for basic flat design, you know, worked with vector images, Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, that type of stuff. I did basic 3D rendering and modeling, which was dope. And, you know, dance and music was always just something there. I never thought about pursuing a career or anything like that with that. You know, I didn't think that dance was going to take me necessarily anywhere. You know, a lot of the people that I learned from traveled the world and all that type of stuff. I didn't see myself doing that necessarily. It wasn't something that I got into it for either. I just really enjoyed it. So, you know, so down the line, I started to become a guest artist in different schools, and that's where that conversation started. So, you know, I would come in and talk to the students, and we'll talk about, you know, design, how that relates to hip hop, even how that relates to music, and you know, my background in music and dance and stuff. And then sometimes I would teach a dance class, and then that ended up being the thing. And then people were like, you know, you should think about going back to school if you want to, you know, because a lot of dancers, they don't have degrees, you know. And in the university, if you want to work full time, if you want to be on faculty, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree. And in most schools, it's a master's degree. So you have to go, you know, 2 tiers up, I think, in terms of a level of degree, which is hard. A lot of people can't do that, you know. So I was in a privileged position. So, you know, I'm happy to be in a position like this, but there's a lot of stuff that I think needs to be done still. And also, I don't need to be here. You know, and I say that in the most humbling way, because I don't I don't think that I even deserve a position like this. I think there's a lot more people that should be here. So I'm trying to figure out ways to.
You can't say that, man.
Yeah,
You
but you
can't say
know, I
that.
mean, the thing is, like, you know, when you're out there and you're dancing and you're doing your thing, and like, you know, I'm sure both of you even could say this, but like there's dancers that you know that were like even better than you when you started, and they stopped, or they didn't continue for whatever reason. Could be financial, could be health, you know, could be just life that happens. So I always just count my blessings for, like, you know, being able to keep going. But those people also became examples for me, you know, of what to do, what not to do, that type of stuff. But I do feel there's a lot of people that do deserve positions. And the thing is, it's like, there's plenty of space for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can be, you know, whoever you are in the game still, but also still have, you know, the want to make space for other people, because there is space. I think we think sometimes too much, that there isn't, that there's no time, that there's no money, that there's no space. But we all could be doing the things. We just hold each other back by not allowing, you know,
Yeah.
those moments to happen for other people sometimes. You know what I mean?
But I
How
agree
much?
with you. I agree with you. I just the thing is why I say, like, you know, like, hey, you know, me and Jay had that face, like, what are you talking about? Because you're actually putting the work to get to that position too. It's not just, hey, I'm Bboy Ynot and I'm here, I'm famous because I'm Bboy Ynot and I won Taiwan and, you know, Switzerland's street star. No, just because they saw that you taught at maybe a workshop or a class for that time, and then they saw your intelligence and how you communicated, and then at the same time you're putting the work for the degrees too. So that's, I
Yeah.
mean, not a lot of people, that's the hard part, that okay, you could be great, but are you going to put in the work for that degree? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Yeah. I was in higher education for 7 to 8 years, for sure. You know what I mean? So I put in time while I was also traveling and competing. Also, I got my master's degree during the same time that I was like out there doing it. And um, a lot of times too, I'm motivated to do work, because I also want to show that these things are possible. There's a lot of dancers that will never consider school because they think they can't. Either they don't have the time. A lot of, you know, breakers have this thing about them, like there's no time. They have to be out there every jam. They have to practice every day. Which, yeah, of course, but there's also a way of like scheduling your life and your day that you'll be able to to hopefully then go to school or get another job. Even, there's lots that you can do. I just sometimes we stop ourselves, and I think it'd be better if we all had more conversations about that so that they can know what the options are. Even
That's an important message. I can, that resonates with me personally, because throughout my years, when I first moved to Vegas and a couple of years in, I was going to school, community college, and I'm a semester away from getting my associates in business. So, I tried to do that while traveling, and I could never, I would find myself wearing myself thin, man. And yeah, I just did not work out. One would suffer if I tried to focus. I would do battles and I just would not be mentally there. And that's, I guess it's a testament to where I was personally at that time within my own practice, my own style, my own journey. But that was one of the things when I was going to school. A jam would be coming up. I'd be like, "Oh, cool, yeah, let's do it." I trained like 2 weeks before, and I'd go into it, and I would not represent. So the fact that you were able to do that and travel, because that's even at a higher level, not only in the body, the mind, and yeah, just the whole experience, and maintain good grades. Much props to that. I think it is a very important message that people do need to hear about, because it does add to the culture.
It's hard. I mean, it's not easy for sure. But I'm also thinking of like ways to support, because I also know that there were certain things in place that allowed me to be able to do that. We talk about B girls, for instance, right? Women who have children, they have a hard time doing other things because of pregnancies. And on top of that, taking care of the baby, a lot of times the man's not around, they have to do it themselves. Like, they need a proper support for that. Like, I do believe that in dance too, if people want to do things outside of dance, we should be in a position to have support for them as well. Some people don't have enough money to go to school, etc. So I'm talking about scholarships and all that. And like all of those things I think are important, because I think most of the time when it comes to school, I mean, I don't know anybody necessarily that was able to afford that. I mean, most of the people that at least I aligned with in my university were like, neck up in debt for loans.
Well, maybe we could use New Mexico as an example. I don't know if you heard, they just made colleges free.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
I still owe money from when I was going to college. So
yeah,
and to not have that debt tied to the experience, and to makes it that much easier to make that decision and put in that energy.
Yeah. And we have, you see it in the breaking community. There's a ton of really talented young, artists that I think, have so much energy, creative energy, that, they don't have the ability to bring that to a larger audience or bring that into a university and do stuff with it. And again, that's not also the perfect place. So I also don't want to paint this picture like the university is where you need to go. You don't have to go there if that's not for you. It's a different way of doing things. Some people are not really cut out for that type of experience. Mm-hmm. I don't think I am either. I just made it work the way that I wanted it to work. I go into a lot of spaces myself, and I just make my plan, and everyone's like, all right, I guess he came through here. I don't even know. Because I'm uncomfortable in a lot of situations. There were certain classes I was like, I don't like this class, or I don't like doing this. So I figured out ways though that I can still get what I need to get out of the experience. You know what I mean? So that's another thing. Like, mentorship, I think, is another thing that I'm trying to get at, is like, you need that. Sometimes you're in spaces that you're not comfortable with. A lot of institutions are not meant for, people of color. It's not. They'll come into those rooms and those studios, and it's all white students, and they have a hard time in those classes because they don't relate to nobody. Even the curriculum is not necessarily a comfortable place for them. So it's like, you have to be helped through that process, or maybe it's not for you, but there's got to be something else for you then that works. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm even though I'm in certain places, I'm looking at them always critically. I'm always trying to see like, what's not working here, because it all doesn't work. Because if it did, we'd all be in school. You know what I'm saying? So
there you go. Now you said a big thing about mentorship, and you said when you were talking, what another thing that was the one thing was mentorship. The other thing was the fact that you're showing that there's different paths. And I think the main problem or challenge in breaking right now is that we're all chasing the same pie, right? Which is a Red Bull, an Olympics, a freestyle session. And like I don't think there's enough people out there showing, okay, there's a different path than just winning a competition. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of like demonstrating that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and I've said that a lot, you know. But also I was you know, when I got into the whole movement of hip hop, it wasn't breaking or just breaking solely. You know what I mean? It was the picture of hip hop that was pretty much sold to us in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the 4 or 5 elements, however elements you want to throw on the table, but it's like all the things that made up what was considered to be a culture. You know what I mean? And it's like you had the visual art, the music, like I was in everything. So it's like my vision is a little bit different. And I think too that experience of battling was like, and I didn't take it that seriously either. You know, I did and I didn't. Of course, I don't want to lose. Like nobody wants to lose and stuff like that. But the thing is, it's like, it's whatever. Like there's nothing that this battle can do that's going to change the way I feel about this whole movement. You know, if I lose, I lose. I come back tomorrow. It's all good. Like, you know what I mean? And some of the events were a little bit starting to get a little too heavy on the breaking side. Like there, you know, I want to see visual art. I want to hear music that's different. I don't want to hear the same breaks over and over again for 18 hours. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, things also shifted, and it makes me think about, you know, our OGs, like people that came before us who danced in the 70s and 80s, and how they may feel about our events. Maybe they feel twice at a place than I do, even, you know. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
like we, you know.
Yeah. So I want to segue that. That's a perfect segue to let's talk about New Jersey. Let's talk about Rock with Finesse. Let's talk about Boo Boo. Right. Let's talk about, you know, how you saw it, because this is going to be educational. Just, you know, it's leading to our main topic. How, you know, you came from, I'm sure, like maybe when you started a freestyle hip hop dancer, right? Like you were like, you started looking,
Yeah.
or you played with everything. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the first dance that I was attracted to was tap. I just didn't know how to tap. I just knew how to shuffle my feet and you know, imitate what I saw. But I gravitated, I would say the first dance that I was aware of what I was doing was popping. So I started doing popping and waving and that type of stuff. But it wasn't long until, like, you know, I started to meet people and identify the things that I was seeing, but then also that I was experimenting with in terms of movement, you know. So I knew that this is a hip hop dance, like certain steps, you know. I was definitely doing things like the Running Man and that type of stuff because, you know, the music and what I seen on music videos at that time was a lot of moves like that. But when I started getting out and I started going to like Zulu anniversary parties, Rock City Crew anniversaries, you know, you get exposed to, you know, the structure that's considered to be breaking and, you know, other forms. So I did mess around for a good maybe year or two until I started getting taught properly, I would say, about what was going on, you know. But yeah, you know, being born in Jersey, like there were pockets of people that knew, you know, what hip hop and breaking really was. Especially to them, they always referenced the 80s, you know, because that was the biggest wave in terms of that movement in the tri-state area. And I say tri-state area because, you know, New York and then Jersey and Philly are really closely connected. I mean, Jersey's directly in between both of those cities. Reason why my history is in both cities is because I had family that were in New York, born in New York, and then I have family that lived also close to Philly. So there was always this back and forth. So, you know, I witnessed a lot of stuff in the city of Philly in a younger age, and I also saw New York when it was considered to be old New York. You know, 34th Street was nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
you know, it was just different. It was a different time. And I'm glad that I caught the end. I would say the end of a couple of really, really good eras of dance and music. And I was lucky to be able to be there, witness it, and be a part of some of that stuff. So, you know, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really excited about that time, man.
Yeah, and I think
dope.
that's one of the things that makes you unique of a b-boy. Well, that stood out in later on in competition, right? Because that influence of, like you said, you tried tap, you did, you did popping and waving, and obviously, I talked to you prior, and you were talking about like being influenced by Elite Force and Buddha Stretch and Link and all these guys, and putting the music, putting that dance into breaking. When I first saw you was like 1998, right? The finals was Gerald, yourself, and Legacy, right, from Street
That's
Masters.
right.
And you guys,
Yeah.
that was early in your style, right? It was still very like you're the main guy pushing that classic kind of East Coast look, right? Even though Legacy is from the East Coast, but he was hitting more power both ways. Gerald was already doing air flares at that point,
Right.
and you were the
Yeah.
one committed to the character. When that was kind of
That's
like
right.
it was starting
Yeah.
to like kind of go away. Like, you were still like you committed to character. Then fast forward, 10 years later, your technique of isolating and adding those steps in with the character has now played a vital role in your style. So talk about that process between when I saw you from 98 to 2009 or 2007. I think I saw you again 2007. No, I saw you 2005 at the Crazy Commanders battles in the
Oh,
after
word. Yeah.
party. And then, you won Mighty Four in 2006, 2007, the one of the first Top Rock battles, right?
Yeah. That's right.
That was the first time I seen you, man.
Okay.
And that was the
Word.
first time that I seen funk music like that. That was the music that they were playing and everything, man.
Yeah, that was
That was
Cell
game
Space,
changing.
man. Shout out to Cell Space.
Yes,
And
sir.
Wacko. Wacko was like one of my first battles that day, if I could remember. I think one of the first rounds was against Wacko. So like we were friends immediately after that battle, man. I mean, we became rivals in a weird way, but friendship at the same time. There's a lot of people that I met through the dance in that way. But yeah, man, I feel like I was really attached to certain things within the dance, and it took me a while. This is really interesting about being in university, for example, right? When I had to write about my experience as a dancer, like they force you to really go deeper into the ideas of what how you learned the things that you learned, why did you learn them, what did you do when after you started experiencing certain things in life and in the community that you danced with. And it made me reflect on like a lot of the stuff I experienced since I was 14, right? Because that's pretty much when I started dancing. So by the time 98 happened, I was already dancing for a few years. But I realized what really made me gravitate towards breaking was the feeling of the Bronx inside of the movement. And I say that because, my father's from the Bronx. So his hand gestures, his voice, the stuff that he says, like even when I listen to, anyone from the Bronx talk, I'm like, that's my dad. I get this kind of reflection of him. So when I saw breaking, it felt like something familiar. And I loved popping, which was like the first type of dance that I really kind of gravitated to. But then once I seen breaking like done kind of full out, because I seen snippets of it, and I saw like the dance being done in a certain way, then I was like, yo, like I seen Frosty do a whole run from standing up all the way to the ground, getting back up, and it was a wrap. Like I was like, damn. Like there was a whole performance aspect of it, but it was him. You know what I'm saying? Like he was presenting himself.
Different from popping, it gave you a different feel.
Yeah, similar but different, right? Like it's just a different way of speaking, I guess. And I felt a lot closer to that, I think. And that's what made me move more into breaking. And I was like, oh, this is a way of moving that I feel more comfortable doing, I think. So yeah, that was it. I mean, so what what was done in 98 at that time, I just kind of kept building on top of what that was. Like whatever that energy and that vibe was that I was on, I just refined it over the years. That's pretty much it. And what really helped my musicality, if we're going to speak about that, what really refined my movement and my ear was I also delved deeper into the music at that time. So when I, left Jersey and moved to Philly and started going to college, I spent hours and hours in record stores. I got my first MPC at that time, and I started making beats. So I was DJing, making beats, and listening to every song possible.
What's a MPC?
MPC is just a sampler. I had an MPC 500 at the time. It was one of the first MPCs that you could. I think it was battery. I'm gonna have it with me here. I don't know if I can find it.
So it's like one of those like techie like control boxes with buttons and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sampler, so you could put any sound into it. A lot of people were making the early beats in the 90s with ASRs, MPCs. There's different like brand names that were really popular. Everybody who did hip hop mostly used MPCs to make beats, so I just thought I needed one of those, and that's what I got at the time. So
is that the evolution of the DJ using the turntables then?
Yeah, at first, like when you look at all the Cold Crush stuff when they used to do all the rap battles back in the day, it was they looped the breaks like Kool Herc did, for the dancers, but they looped the beginning of a disco record, which normally would just start with a drum or the break, and once you start looping that's how you start to build a song structure, and then they would rap, and you would have people like Grandmaster Cass who would like sing the cadence of the song, because the song too. It's like a throwback. You put on a song, that the chorus of the song is gonna come, but Kaz is gonna change all the words in the chorus and make up his own.
Oh, I love it.
So that was a really dope way transition, I would say, into this idea of the merry-go-round. Then also leading into MCs, adding their lines to that shit and rhyming. So it was dope.
So when you were talking about going to college. You spent time in Philly, and of course we got to talk about the Gathering. Now, for those who are tuning in, and this is what I know of the Gathering. The Gathering was like from what I know of it, it was a once a month, and it was like they played every genre of music, and it was like kind of a club for kids, right? Like that's why they call it the Gathering. And I was lucky enough to experience it myself, where it's like they play a house song, everyone, b-boys, poppers, lockers, dance house. Then there'd be a locking song, b-boys, house dancers, hip-hop dancers, all locked. Then they play a popping song, and it's like, and that's why it's like when you look at Maka, when you look at like Box, when you look at these dancers in Philly, like they all have this groove, right? And you were around that. I mean, you basically. Would you say that played a big part of like forming your style too, like being having that environment like once a month, right?
100%. The Gathering was like, that was Philly's historical place that really helped like have the Philly thing, So you just named a couple Philly dancers, and you recognize that there's a through line between people like myself and Box and Maka, and we've experienced similar things, and I hear that on our end.
No, that's Pro.
That's me.
That's definitely Pro.
That sounded like a robot for a second. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it happens from time to time.
Cool. But yeah, it was at a church hall, 40th and Walnut. That's where the Gathering would happen, and and there was a lot of crazy stuff that would happen in there too, though. But the music would shift very often, like you said, and everyone would participate no matter what song was being played. And Philly, does understand certain things with what to do to what music, to a certain extent, because Philly also had its own thing. And I say that because New York has a certain way of doing things. Philly has a certain way of doing things. They're not the same. So the experience that you might get at the Gathering is not going to be like any other spot that you may have gone to New York. Also, there was a big, brown paper on the wall, and people would tag on there too, because tagging is a really big thing in Philly too. So, there were a lot of fights because of that sometimes too, because, someone would reveal themselves by tagging on the wall. And then every once in a while, someone might get hemmed up because they're like, "Oh, that's you." And it's like, it just gets crazy. So the gathering was also exciting because there was a lot happening there, It's definitely mellowed out, but the times that I was there was pretty wild, at moments, but a beautiful place, beautiful people, and the music was just on point. And the MCs would be there too. They would have their moment. Usually around midnight, they get on the mic, and we don't stop dancing. We keep going. They'll be rapping, and we're dancing. So we in there for hours. It's crazy. Hell yeah.
All right, is my mic good now?
Yeah, it's good. It just crackled a little bit. That's it.
Yeah. Jay, you got any question before I go into my next question?
No, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, as you're talking about it, I'm trying to put myself there. And yeah, man, I what I've been learning lately is I do not know music. And we spoke about it briefly, like coming up in the mid 90s when it's Africa Bambaataa, street jams, very little to no Latin funk breaks. So it was high energy, but yeah, like I can't dance is what I'm getting at in short. And I'm learning, and it's a beautiful thing to kind of step into it and see how it's growing and to see the depth of what is essentially the breaking DNA, which is funk music, different types of music. And then like even we spoke to Florock last week. He was talking about he originally broke to rave music, and that's why he breaks fast. And that explains a lot. Like in that day, we didn't really. He even said it. There was no like Latin breaks. I don't know if that was a West Coast thing, but
I would say it's a West Coast
where
thing.
I was at.
You definitely had.
Yeah, it was West Coast. It was a West Coast thing,
Yeah.
Like, cause from my experience, right? Because like I said last week, for me it was like the first time we heard really James Brown at a jam was DJ Shortcut, because he was learning from Cuba, and then like these are the things that we were dancing to, and then, of course the guys that they were talking about was like Crazy Legs. That was their main connection, right? Because it was like the West Coast rocksteady DJs. So Shortcut at the time as a student to Cuba, he was playing. So we were like, what? We're not used to this. We're used to Debbie Deb and Johnny O, and like you're playing with James Brown. What? And then
that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Then the Summit tapes came out, and then because of Summit and then the panels, that's how we got okay, we're not just gonna dance to electro, right? It's like there's this whole formula that we didn't know about. But at the same time it was very relatable because of if you're into hip hop, a lot of this stuff is like, oh, this is like NWA sampled this. Oh wait, Marley Marl sampled this. And it's like, and then that goes back to Ultimate's Breaks and Beats and how that played. That was like the lineage of that tradition being carried on sonically in a record. Like, that's what Breakbeat Lou and did, was like take those records that were being played at the jams and like, let me catalog it, right? Let me curate it. And then your second wave of guys like Dr. Dre or your Bomb Squad, they started making records out of those songs that were at the jams, right? That predominantly Flash, Bam, and Herc played, you know what I'm saying? So right there is like, then you start to understand the connection as a hip hop head. Then you kind of just start to understand the connection of how you dance to that type of music, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That, I mean, I was like, when I said earlier about like when I went down this whole rabbit hole of music, I wasn't necessarily DJing, but I was, I learned how to juggle a bit and do that and scratch a little bit, but I was just into playing the records at home. I would just listen to them often. But I went down this rabbit hole, man, because I was so obsessed with finding the samples that I heard so much in the hip hop music that I enjoyed. But then also finding the songs of some of the, the VHS tapes that I would see breaking on. So if I had a Battle of the Year tape or something like that, or if I heard a song that I liked at that time, I don't know if you remember little mini disc recorders, like you could record on them, right? The little CDs that were like in a square. I don't know if you remember those, but I had one of those.
Talk Boys?
This is after Talk Boys, but But I did have a dictaphone too,
It's a
like
Home Alone joint. Right
I did
there.
have the little cassette recorder too.
Okay.
But yeah, I would just like hold it up to the TV or record it or whatever. And, you know, I would go to the Sound of Market, which was a record store in Philly. And DJ Randy Flash, rest in peace, he was a really good friend of mine, but it would take him seconds. He would hear the song and then
that's
be
so
like,
tight.
yo, hold on. Come from around the counter, go down the aisle, pick the record out. He goes, check, this is it. It's number one on this record. Check number 5, though. That one's dope too. And like he was a really big inspiration and
Something cut out, guys. Let's see if they can come back. Why Not was in the middle of some really, really, really dope content right there as far as talking about digging. Hopefully you guys will come back soon. Just to, and this is the next question. We'll see what's up with these guys. The next question I have is basically the sense of digging, the concept of digging is what I think a lot the missing element in kind of hip hop, right, is the fact of just basically taking a like what he was saying about the DJ going, okay, let me look at this record. No, this is the record that you heard. That's track number 1. And then, hey, you should hear track number 5. I think you'll like that. That whole concept right there is pretty dope of just, okay, I started with one thing, but it, you know, I went down a rabbit hole and found something else that kind of spoke, you know, stronger to me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that right there is a gem. What Why Not said. Hopefully I can get them back. I'm trying to see what's up. And yeah.
we're back,
And
baby.
there you go. There you go. I was doing it, man. I was filling in that.
So that
I was I was filling in that
What you
gap,
did
baby.
was, bro.
I was filling in that gap, baby. I was talking, man. I was talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no.
what you
So
said.
now, and at least now that's a perfect segue because I talked about when I start to get into when you basically took when you found that song, you recorded that song, you went to the record store, you went to the DJ there. He said, "Oh, it's this record, track 1, but let me check out track 5."
Yeah.
That in essence, that's what what we used to call digging, right? You're digging for this gold. Now kids will call it going down the rabbit hole. And I think that was like a lot of the identity that I think is a long lost art is digging, right? And even now we could dig, like we could shout out to Korean Rock Junk. He digs for this like treasure trove of like clips that maybe a practice session that like some guy had in freaking Ohio of Storm when he was there or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a missing art because then you could research that. It's like a time capsule and again it curates the timeline, but not just that, it influences you in your style and you feel like you're special because you found this thing that no one else found, right? And you can implement it in
It's a journey to get it. You have a different appreciation for it because it takes you a while to find it. I remember when I found Castles, right? I was in a record store that was super close to the Gathering. So the Gathering was about a block in on 40th, but then right in between Walnut and Chestnut was a comic book shop. And I was in the comic book shop one day and I'm just flipping through a box of records they had. And I'm just reading the titles real quickly as I'm flipping through it. And on the top, it said Castles in the Sky. And I'm flipping through it. And I kid you not, like I just remember Castles in the Sky being repeated over and over again this must have been Zulu Anniversary, and Forrest Gump was spinning that song. And I remember Byrne getting up and dancing. And I heard the song in my head as I flipped past the record. And I was like, damn, I pulled it out of the joint. I was like, I'm looking at him like, is this it? I was like, this must be it. I don't know. It looked crazy. It was only like $3 or something like that. I was like, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to take it home. Listen, man, I got home and put the needle on that. And I was like, oh, this is it. Yo, I lost my mind. I called everybody. I remember calling in Raph, Zine. I hit him up. I said, Raph, yo, check this out. I put the phone right by the speaker. He's like, you found that joint? Like, it was crazy. Like, I was so excited to have and own that record because, like, that song was crazy to me. And then, you know, as I did more research, I found out that that band, The Future, is from Philly. That's a Philly band also.
that's
So
sick.
there's a lot of stuff that,
That's
oh man,
crazy.
that was a crazy day.
What was the cover like?
It's
I
just
love
them
the
like
art.
standing on a planet. They're like wearing all white. They look like they're in leotards or some shit. And then it's like there's like a planet. And that's why I looked at it. I was like, I don't know. It might be, but you know, a lot of those covers were wild. Like there was some
Yeah,
really
the cover
crazy
art is dope, man.
looking cover art, which really like inspired me too artistically. Like looking at all the different fonts and letterings and that mixed with graffiti and everything. Like, you know, there's so much that, you know, when you experience everything, it starts to play a role in everything that you do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
the
so
future.
so let's segue that to another question me and Jay had, and so we're talking about this experience that doesn't happen anymore. Let's be realistic, right? It only happens if you're over a certain age, right? If you're still into the culture of digging and being influenced like that. Now we're talking about millennials, Gen Z, more Gen Z, right?
Right.
That's now we're getting to the meat of the topic of musicality. Obviously, there's this texture that we have when we're digging, when we're like looking for funk breaks and jazz breaks, and even just and then after that you become a connoisseur of just the music period, not just because they're playing at a jam. You're just like, this is dope. Then all of a sudden you get an NPC and it's like, let me make my own beat off of this, right? This is the context and the texture that we're talking about. Now we're coming into, since your influence in 2009 when you hit, when that video came out, in that 7 to Smoke Top Rock, then now it's like, well, everyone's doing musicality, which is like, let me hit a freeze on the one, right, on the cymbal crash. Psh, now I'm musicality, and it's really staying in rhythm and maybe reading the beat, but they're not really dancing, right? They're just kind of like, let me find the timing and then hitting the freeze. How would you
Right.
say? And then at the same time, the music is just different because of YouTube, because things are aired on live, and then there's such thing as copyright strikes. So you can't play a James Brown, you can't play a Jimmy Castor unless you have a lot of money to pay off the copyright. And then because of that, now we have b-boy music that's being created, right? And this
Right.
is no just to everyone, but the thing is, and I'm going to say it, and everyone's going to get mad at me. The thing is it was b-boys that became DJs, that became producers, versus people that were really into the music first, then creating the music that they think they could maybe simulate as far as funk and stuff. So I just unlocked and put a minefield of just opinions out there.
Yeah.
What
I
do you
mean, you
think
know,
for
a lot
for
of
the
the
next generation to get that true feeling with all these challenges? What would you suggest to Gen Z and the future competitors and non-competitors?
oh man. In terms of, you talking about in terms of like music?
Just their approach to like understanding the dance in that way, because obviously it can't be at clubs don't even exist like that, they barely exist
Right.
like that.
That's the hardest part. Like I was talking to Jay about this earlier. I was like, you know, I was, you know, my first girlfriend was Salvadorian. I learned how to do bachata and merengue at her house, and you know, I've done the hustle in my house because of my mom. And it's like there's certain experiences that you have that are closer to home that you don't necessarily have to go anywhere to learn or do them. You know, and that's another thing that really helped me in terms of how I approached the dance. Like I didn't realize that I was having that experience, and that added to what I was doing in terms of breaking, you know. Um, I didn't also realize that not everyone has had an experience like that in life. They're like, they've never seen those dances before, or they've never even danced with somebody in a club necessarily, like with them. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll go to a club, but they want to be dancing with anybody. Like that's different, you know? Um, and that's cultural too, right? So I'm not of those cultures that do those dances, but I was dating in that culture. I was in that culture. I was around that culture. So that stuff rubbed off on me. And if I talk to a younger generation now, even those that you know may come from, you know, they may be Colombian, they may be Puerto Rican, they, you know, if they're far away from their homelands and they're far away from the origins of like where their parents come from, it may not be practiced as much in the house anymore. Like when you come to America, things change, you know, and then there's a lot of crossover. A lot of people feel maybe displaced and out of touch here in this country, you know. um, which is why a lot of people navigate towards, you know, Black culture in America, because that is predominant. I'd say any art that you see today here in America it comes from Black folks in America. Um, and then, you know, all the kids want to do it because it's cool and this and that, and, you know, but there's also a history within that, you know, doesn't always get passed down. Like people just want to do it because it's cool, blah blah blah. You know, and this is also stuff that through meeting other dancers and learning about their life and their history, I had to also learn about, you know, going through this journey. Um, with these competitions, I realized that there's not much conversation, there's not much hangout, there's not much um, exchange necessarily in that way. It's just I battle you, you battle me, we go home, you know. Even at the event, there's no time for that. You know, people are stretching, they're getting ready for the next battle. The battles go all the way to the end. If we're lucky, we finish on time.
Yeah, and that's getting shorter too, right?
It gets even shorter. So there's no time for the quote unquote community things to happen, even though we talk about we're in community, but are we? Like, what does that mean? Why, how would we define that today? Younger kids are not, you know, dancing with each other. They're practicing for the battle and they go and they do that, you know, which means also when they go home, they're also not surrounded by anything like that either. You know, they go home and they practice again, and then they, you know, they get together and they practice, and that's fine. But like, if they want to tap into something that, you know, like the way I listen to music, it didn't happen that way by doing what they're doing. It happened from going to record stores. It happened from going out and dancing with my girlfriend. It happened with, you know, that kind of stuff is how you get that. But you, if you don't, if that's not a part of your time, or if that's not a part of your culture, you have to make an effort to try to find that even in your area. It may not even be there. You know, I used to laugh too, because I would talk to Wiggles about this stuff. Like he would tell, you know, people in other countries in his workshops, he's like, y'all gotta go out and dance with each other and go to the clubs and all this and that. And he'd like basically be scolding them and stuff. And I used to sit there and think and be like, what club? You know, like I was like thinking like there can't be a club like the club we went to, like here.
I mean,
like where would that
yeah,
be?
nah, because even,
you know?
yeah, the club culture right now, every club is Las Vegas style club culture now, which is
Yeah.
table and bottle service,
Yeah,
right? There's
originally
no such
Miami
thing,
though.
huh?
All right.
The whole
Yeah,
table and like DJ
yeah.
like format, that's originally from Miami, and then
Is it?
Vegas
And
adopted it.
okay, word. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I just knew it was popular from Vegas, but because every
Oh,
club,
Vegas took
anywhere
it
you
to the
go, yeah, yeah, every club you go to in the world now is that format, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even let's
So
say there is a cultural dance on TikTok. It's not like you're really dancing with that person. You're just like, let's do this together, but it's not really like this thing, this communication, because really dance was a form of it was a mating ritual that doesn't exist anymore. Like that, the mating ritual doesn't exist. I mean, it exists in some weird, crazy way through dance. Like I did 10 air flares. That girl was looking at me like, like that's how most guys think right now, which is like that girl doesn't care if you did 10 air flares, man. Like
right.
you know what I mean? Which is like
Yeah.
the loss of. That's what I'm saying. This how do we do it? How do we teach Gen Z that? I don't know, because I can't say go to the club because the clubs aren't even like that anymore. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And it's not
Like
only the clubs too, right? Like when I learned how to break in a development center at Hunts Point, like, and then when I moved to Philly, you know, the CEC, which was our community education center, like I they're communal spaces for, you know, youth, basically arts spaces for kids to go to and paint and draw and learn and do stuff like dance, you know. So it's like, you know, I even started that in the town that I went to high school in. I went to Clifton High School in New Jersey, and I went to the rec center and I started classes. So there were a lot of like younger, you know, dancers that came from my area in that high school that also started coming out and dancing. You know, kid by the name of Jamal and Alfonso, who, you know, that plays the saxophone on some of those video clips. I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram and stuff, but like he went to my high school, you know. But I had a space for, you know, people to go and learn and dance and share and all that. Like That's different. It's not like practice necessarily. It's a hangout spot. We're talking, we're chilling, we're dancing, we're doing other things besides dance. You know, we play ball, we'll do stuff like that. So it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be a club, and especially for some of these kids who are really young, of course it wouldn't be, right? But what are they doing outside of school that is productive like that, or even building relationships like that? I don't know. You know?
I think I answer pro, because I am that demographic. That I come from a culture that, yeah, we don't really dance socially like that. We have hula, Tahitian, and breakdancing, and then aside from that, the middle school, high school dances, you're just grinding. You know what I mean? There's nothing else to it.
You just grind.
I was telling him a story earlier, because we were talking about
hey kids, just grind.
Yeah, early on I was known as the guy that could dance, because they would see me show off like at PE or, you know, before school or something like that, and then we would go to an actual like dance at the gym or whatever, nighttime, lights low, DJ or whatever the music was playing, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, yo, see that group of girls, get it," and I'd be like, not knowing like really what to do, and I, you know, just grinding basically. So no real like grooving or nothing really. Yeah, basically. But it wasn't until moving to Vegas and then Southwest, right? Big predominant Latin culture down there, and yeah, meeting girls. I did learn from an El Salvadorian girl as well. But going to maybe a restaurant and talking to the people there, because a lot of the times these restaurants, they have nights. They'll do nights where it's like, oh, okay, we're doing bachata night, we're doing like a salsa night or something like that, and you can go, and yeah, a lot of the times they'll just pull you up, and it's a pretty inviting and interesting setting, because you have like couples that will go dance with other, and it's physical, it's a physical dance, and they're cool with it. And they'll switch partners, and it's a pretty cool social experience. So in that sense, like, that would be something that they could do. That would be a resource. We're not going to see it in the clubs in that setting, but maybe like a Latin restaurant, or if they're lucky enough to have it in their city, like a Latin club.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is, like, you know, one guy you probably don't expect who loves going to the salsa clubs is Intact. Because like, where's the salsa party? I need to go to salsa party. Like, dude, for real, I swear, he loves it. He kills it too. He kills it. And that's the last person you would think that would like it, because he's an ill ass b-boy. But the fact that we go to Singapore is like, where's the salsa party? Come to San Francisco. Where's the salsa party? I was like, yo, this guy's about it, bro. Like,
and it's no surprise that he has footwork, right?
Dude, right? I'm just saying, like, you know. That guy's a shout out to Intact, man. God bless, you know, God bless Ukraine right now. You know what I mean? Prayers to Ukraine. What about you, Tony? What else do you do before we get into like reviewing these battles and stuff like that? What's another thing you think that Gen Z could kind of touch upon to kind of like maybe try to get this context or this texture that we kind of grew up on? Well, I mean, you're a teacher too, so it's like maybe you're already doing this.
Yeah, I think they have to find it for what it is for them now. That's the challenging part on their end.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's certain things that you're not going to get in terms of experience, just because of where you live or what time you were born in, you know, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I mean, there's stuff that I'll lose all context because of the year I was born versus the year, like, you know, Mr. Wiggles was born. Like, we're different people. You know, born of a different time, like there's different experiences. So we're not going to dance the same. And, you know, there's probably times that he looks at my dance and goes, oh, he's lacking this, and this, you know? Yeah, because I was not there for that, you know? So I think there's things though, like when you start to like really pull in years, right? And you have some experience, you really start to find your own groove and your own flow somehow, you know, and it's really just being as authentic to your own history as possible. And I think that's really important. You know, when I started to really get into stuff in the early 2000s, I was understanding who I was. I was understanding of my experience growing up, and just like really becoming myself at that point. Finding my voice, I guess you could say. And I think that is really just listening, really listening to what's around you and being confident in those things, because, I've also been told that I'm not doing this properly, and that's fine. I mean, we need that push and pull at the same time. We need a generation before us, in a way, giving us some tough love from time to time on the dance, because we can't do what they've done. We really can't, but we can do what we do. And what is that, is the question.
So aside from Wiggles, I know he's big in the education space, within his own promotions and what he's doing.
Yeah.
I definitely look into all of his clips, and he has some awesome resources, just him talking and then him demoing and him teaching and all that. Aside from Mr. Wiggles, are there any other resources? Which you made a good point. Like, we're not going to experience it ourselves, but I think reaching out to the Wiggles is, and I even came across that guy Popo. I never knew of him before, but fresh, man.
You talking about Popo Love or Enoch and Popo?
Who's
Rojas? Rojas. Yeah, with Enoch. Yeah. Bronx guys, the Bronx. BX baby, BX.
Yeah.
But I'm saying they teach about that, and they talk about the context, and they actually teach the steps, and they do it to the music, right?
Yeah.
So obviously digging, which is studying the music, it's going to a library, but the record store, which, hold on, are there even record stores like?
I mean, you can e-dig too. You could go into the rabbit hole too, because now we have access. We have access now. You know what I mean? Like, you could be an e-digger. Nothing wrong with being an e-digger.
Nah, YouTube's got plenty of records now. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just about taking the time and listening and playing and finding certain things. But it's not the same type of, like, sensorial experience. But it's something. The analog versus digital conversation is like that started with our generation. You know what I mean? Like, even with instruments, I mean, I used a lot of digital stuff that was looked down upon. Even when I started doing graph on the computer, that was like considered not to be graph.
And now
you're doing art, Tony. You're doing art.
But that goes back to this conversation about, what does the next generation do, right? I was being told not to do that, and then, people are on that now, because you have to also look at the trajectory of everything and know that some things are inevitable, right? So when you know that it's going in that direction, you can fight change all you want. You don't necessarily win, so you can adapt, or you can, find a balance for yourself, I think, but that's on you as a participant. When you're younger and you're trying to find your way, you have to know what not to sacrifice and what to sacrifice as you move forward. And then you'll find out who you are. And then you can feel good about what you're doing too, because, like, it may eventually become the thing that everyone else is doing at some point. You know what I mean? So, and
going digital seems like the way to adapt for sure.
I think
now,
Yo, Jay, that's the thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jay. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I was gonna say that that's the thing about right now. And I think we're gonna do an episode on social media. How, like, a lot of I think specifically 90s b-boys are against social media because of, like,
you were just telling me that today too. He's like
90 b-boys, because of the temperature of what was going on, which was there was 5 jams around the world in 1 year. I could practice it in my garage, then take that guy out. That doesn't exist anymore, because there was 3 jams this past weekend, 3 major jams. You had Red Bull Vegas, you had the Orlando Breaking for Gold, then you had We Got the Flowers in France, all happening at the same time. Let alone there's a local jam in Sacramento and a jam in San Diego. 5 jams this past weekend that are all being covered media wise. How are you going to keep secret? What I mean, it's like, what's the kind of the point in a way, especially like Breaking for Gold. Me and Jay talked about this. Is like, yo, Pepsi's been at every one for the last month. You know what I mean? Snap has been in every one. You know what I mean? Jack's been to 3, or you know what I mean? So it's like, how do you keep the element of surprise when you have to travel the next week to compete again?
That's
You know
what
what I mean?
this generation is up against. You know, they're overexposed. You know, it was different for us because we, you know, I was telling Jay, like, you know, I still function in a way that I do when I was younger, that I disappear, you know, and I don't even think or intentionally do it. That's just what I do, because I'm not comfortable with someone who's always in a spotlight all the time. I don't like that, you know, because I need my time to develop and research and stuff like that, you know, because that's what this is to me. And it's not something that I want to show off all the time. You know, I want to come back with something different. I want to, sit and think about certain things and apply what I'm experiencing to my art, you know, so that takes time. And I can't be over at every jam and every day, every year. Like, that's just too much, you know. I get tired of myself. And I was telling Jay, I was like, you know, I watched some of the Orlando stuff earlier today, and I felt bad watching it because I saw some of those runs already in the last event that I watched. You know, and I know, like, you know, we're only human. We can only come up with so many things to do, you know. But I do feel like the way that things are going, we are overexposing ourselves, and we have to really think about this. Like, what is the younger generation really going to be doing in terms of longevity because of things like this? And what does it mean? What is it going to look like? These are the things they're up against, man. And I don't, you know, hey, I salute all of them, even just for standing up on a stage like that and doing what they do. Like, you know, I can't say that I've ever really done that. I mean, I've, you know, a couple of events, of course, really big that I've done, but like on a regular basis, nah, man, that's not me.
Yeah, the volume of it is, this is the new, is the volume of it, especially after the pandemic. Right now, we're like, even we went literally back to like 2 years of nothing to like I said, that was 5 major, like not major jams, 4 major jams at like at least, or 3 major jams at 2 others that was going at the same time. And we're probably skipping other parts of the world. You know what I mean? That has something going on. And that's the thing with Tony. I'm like on the opposite end. I'm like, yeah, post every day, baby. Just do it. Like, I'm like, do it. You gotta be McDonald's before you're Supreme, baby. Like,
yeah. That's,
you know what I mean?
That's the content mindset of today, right? Like, hold people's attention, because out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's just what it is.
I think
right
I
now.
actually posted for once, like a couple of days ago or whatever, and I forgot who it was, but they commented like, "Man, I would have never seen this, man, if I didn't even have my notifications on." I don't know what he said, something like that. But then I was like, you know, I live in a space where it's like, if you don't see it, it's you know, you just don't see it. You know, it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, the drug at this point is attention. You know, so it's like, it's hard, man. It's and I know why people are needing to do that, because we're being constantly bombarded with all of these things. Instagram is a crazy marketing tool at this point, you know. And so people are using that so they can do their thing or whatever it is that they do, you know. You can't knock it, but at the same time, it's like, you have to think about, if that's not you, how do you navigate through these spaces like that?
True.
You know.
True.
Yeah, much respect to the people who are doing it. These jams back to back. I get the big picture. Right now, we're trying to expose it to the world. It is exactly what it is, but there is overexposure. But there is utility to it. Right? We're trying to blow up and get things accepted for the Olympics. Right? I know there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people. With Breaking for Gold, to make sure that it does do good, even in the Birmingham games and everything leading up to the Olympics itself. So the ones that are going out and burning themselves out and, overexposing themselves, like you said, much respect to them. This needs to happen. But I do side with you. Why not? There's a thing about, I've always felt this throughout my my dance and my own personal practice, is if I do a set that I just done recently, there's an energetic like drain in me that I cannot kill it and steam it the way that there's something not authentic and spontaneous about it. There needs to be that element about it for me to really, really connect deep to it. And yeah, those that are able to do it and perform sets, essentially, it's a disciplined mindset. For me, like I need to be attached to that spontaneity and that fun. That's what kind of makes it fun for me. So yeah, I can definitely connect to that. But I've been in situations too where like, oh, this is coming up and we just did this, so I'll go into it and I will go in partial hearted into it. So that's really dope that you are okay, you are secure within yourself to be able to step back and be like, especially after the impact that you've had on the scene, man. That's really, really dope to hear that. I think it's important. I think that's what adds meaning to what you're doing and the bigger message.
I think I'm also just as a way to say that, you know, a lot of this stuff that like, what is all this? I always say this. I always question everything that I'm involved in, even in the university. Like, you know, I'll get my flowers for, you know, doing the work and getting into university and this and that. But I also question the space that I'm in at the same time, you know, because like I said earlier, if it was such a dope space, we would all have access to it. You know, it's not, you know, so it's like it's great for certain people. It's not great for everybody. And I want to know what those things are and how can someone who's not, you know, having access or even fit for schooling, like how can they still do the things that the school, you know, offers and stuff like that? Because all it is information. You know, whether you're in school or not, you can get it because there's so much about, you know, hip hop, for example, what that teaches you that the school cannot. That's crazy. Like I can't even explain the education that you get just being a part of a community like hip hop. You know, the stuff that I learned was insane. Like more than I've learned probably in school. You know, so there's everything has a value, and I think that's what I'm getting at too. It's just like, you know, we hold value of some things over others. It's like even when we talk about these competitions and like I you know, back away from things because I don't want to give certain things too much value sometimes because not everyone gets to participate. You know what I'm talking about? Like in a competition, one person wins. Like that's cool, but that's not community to me if one person is winning. You know what I'm saying? Even though like that's also a bit of a block on our end. Like, you know, in battles, for example, when people would lose, they would get upset. But I'm like, did you lose or did you learn? Right? What did you gain from this experience? Like there's still a learning aspect, an educational aspect to not advancing and breaking, you know, but we don't look at it that way. It's like Frosty Freeze, competition is tradition. When I heard him say that for the first time, it put a lot of things in perspective. It's like, why are you sweating this? It's we do this every day. It's like eating breakfast. You're going to do it no matter what. You know, so
That's
why
real.
are you even, you know what I mean? Like, why are you putting so much value into this? Even though this is valuable because it's traditional. We do this every day. But what we're saying is that, you know, don't put it on a pedestal, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's especially from the 90s B-boys, in my opinion, and I'm talking prior, like after the VHS era of, well, you have to win freestyle session. Because we were just talking to Flow Rock and it was like, the first freestyle session, like me, Flowmaster, Flow Rock, Crumbs, B-Boy Ivan, Soul Control were there. But the biggest thing was being in the ciphers. Then no one watched the competition at all. The first freestyle session, no one even watched. No one even cared. We cared that Ivan did a front flip into the cipher, man. Like what the like we were just tripping that he did continue like air flare, windmill, air flare. We were like, oh shit, there goes Flowmaster. He's he's wearing the gray pants with the Nike Zoom Air Zoom. It was like that. Then maybe around freestyle session 2, 3, 4, more people started caring just about that. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just got caught up in the conversation because the thing is, it's like the value did change within that B and the 90s B. I feel like the 90s B-boys held on to that and forgot what it was before. They weren't around before, and then now it's just that in this big thing versus like, hey, you competed, you did good, cool, you killed it. Like that should be good enough, right? It shouldn't be like.
Yeah.
And some b-boys are like, I need rent that month. I'm like, what are you doing, waiting to win a competition for rent? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like a lot of stuff like that. And going back to like why it's important that you're doing what you're doing, because you're showing a way, even though it's, you know, you might have some like, you know, your own reservations right now. You're still showing a different path, right? And that's one thing. Like even us, me and Jay are showing a different path of let's do podcasts, like let's take this serious, even though it's been done, but like in production and putting in, you know, like really honing down on like there's other avenues, right? We're creating them, right? Versus just this one.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's as we move into the digital realm, what are we doing with this technology, you know, and how can we use it to advance what we're thinking about in terms of community and building and all this stuff? We can do that, you know. We have the means and everything, you know. But I don't know. Yeah, it's that, and it's like what you said at the events, man. Like if it's like the opposite now, right? Like if you started dancing on the side, people wouldn't even look. They just stare at the competition now. It's like it's flipped. It used to be the other way. I remember when it was what you said, you know, where the battles was secondhand. It's all about what happens before and in between and maybe at the end, right? It's flipped now. It's like it's all about the battles, and people don't want to waste their energy dancing before their battles. It's like, damn, really? It's so weird, you know? But like that's, you don't, you know, how are these kids even supposed to like really build themselves in this place if they're not like winning? You know what I'm saying? Like winning, you know, what is that? You know, there's some people that never make it to top 8. I remember them more than the people who win, but I'll probably not get to see them dance like that. I used to be able to, because like, you know, the time for ciphering was longer. It's not that long anymore, you know. I was lucky enough to like, I think I built most of my name, you know, prior to battling on the larger stage, just by showing up at events and going to after parties, you know, and people were like, who's this dude, you know? And then that's how I started to meet everybody and go into different places. It wasn't always because like I won some battle or something. I think people were confused too when they started seeing me on judge panels. They're like, what has he done? You know, all these things. And I'm like, well, you know. So
and then you bless them with a showcase, right? And they're like, ah.
I mean, you know, that's it too, right? Like even sitting on a judge panel, you get to dance one time. That's almost a bit overwhelming because you're like, yo, I remember when I went to one of my first events early on, and I was in Taiwan. I think I told this story before, but like Pop and Pete was judging too, the popping battles. But it was also one of the first times where it's like I'm the only judge for the whole event of that category, which I was like, damn, that shit's kind of crazy. But I, you know, they finished the break in top 16 or whatever, and then, you know, Poppin was coming in, and I was still sitting in the chair. I was like, oh, Poppin Pete's here, y'all. I don't think you understand who this man is, you know. And then like the lady that was helping, and she was like, all right, you can go to the back room now. Breaking is done. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to watch. Like Pop and Pete might dance. I'm trying to see that shit, you know. And she was like, no, breaking's done. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm trying to see some Pop and Pete right now.
Yeah, some real stuff.
And it's weird because it's like, you know, I started seeing the shift of things, not only in how the events were going, but then also the, you know, respect for each other's dance forms and styles, and breakers not even knowing who the hell a Pop and Pete is, even like that. It's like, whoa, like what's happening, you know? And
so who is Pop and Pete for our listeners?
Oh my gosh, Pop and Pete. Come on, man. Brother Boogaloo Sam, Solomon Brothers, incredible Boogaloo dancers, man. You know, Pete really inspired me for sure. All the Electric Boogaloos, but Pete had this like real energy about him. Also, just as a person, you know, he's like somebody who's really like on point and sharp and funny and exciting to be around. But like then when he starts dancing, all of that energy is still in that, you know, like he's incredible. But yeah, he's probably one of my favorite dancers of all time. You know, there's if there was a list, you know, I don't have Fred Astaire and them on that list. Yo, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I got Pete and, you know, Wiggs and
about James Brown,
you know, Pee Wee Dance and, you know,
Pee Wee Dance. Shout out to Pee Wee Dance.
James Brown don't even get on the list because he's
yo Jay, pull up Pee Wee Dance real quick. Have you seen Pee Wee Dance, Jay?
Stop yelling at me, man. I'm already on it.
I
was like, yo, when you said Pee Wee Dance, like, we gotta watch a clip of that fool.
Yeah,
man, that guy.
Let's give him some love,
man, hell yeah, Pee Wee Dance, bro, right there.
Not Pee Wee Herman. That's him right there.
I remember that he's one of the first guys I seen on tape, and I was like, who is this dude with his little flannel and his like little his page boy hat? You know what I mean? With the
this is some of the only footage a lot of people seen of him right here.
Yeah, man.
Just and Pee Wee, that's Harlem history right there, man.
Yeah. So, Pee Wee Dance right here. No, that's it. Talk about that funk, bro.
You see that head movement he did?
Yep.
Bro,
look at that.
Back
oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Pee Wee right there.
Oh my God.
Movements.
Yes.
Look at the footwork. Yep.
Yes.
That's it. Pee Wee is incredible, yo, and that's.
Look at that. Boom. Oh, he put the slow motion on it too? Okay.
ESPN production on. Let's go.
Look at that head movement. Look at that arm movement. Look at those isolate. Oh my God. And he's like that gap, right? He was like that gap from the original Herc Boys to like the Track 2s to the Spy generation.
Yeah.
Like that Abbey,
and Pee Wee is like that's pure Harlem. That's pure, you know.
It's Harlem style.
That's like just straight. That's black dance right there. You know what I'm
saying?
Yeah. Because you got Pee Wee, and then when you see someone like Legs, it's different. You know? It's different.
Like I said, like he's like that in between. He's like he's that like the Herc period guys to like the Beaver Spy Track. Then you have Kenny Legs, and then you know.
When you see Grand Mixer DXT, he dances.
Yeah.
Like wait, so this is pre-Legs and all them? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Pre. Because you could tell it's a different feel.
Yeah, and there's not, you know, they go to the ground, but it's not, you know, it's different movements, different shuffles. Like I talk about a lot of that too, man, when I'm showing clips like this, man.
Yeah, when we're talking like, Indian style, right? You would say this is kind of an Indian style a little bit. The hop, hop, hop.
Yeah, that's the boyoing too. You know?
Boyoing, yep. Boyoing. Yep. This is what Charlie Rock said when they were like, "Oh, get out here, sweepers and rabbits. Get out here, hippity hoppers." Like that's why.
Yeah, they used it as like a term to like make fun of younger kids. Yeah. That boyoing was that bounce, and they were like, "Get that boyoing out of here." It was kind of like a diss, you know. But that became a whole form and a style. You see a lot of younger Zulus learn that probably from Ness, you know.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, I learned a lot of that from Wiggles and Frosty and Pee Wee.
I gotta hear this, guys.
Yeah, I don't think this is the song he's dancing to though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over this shit or whatever.
But the thing is, see, this is the thing. This is like one of the first guys I saw do Top Rock too. Like I was like, because it's like, I was like, wow, this is different. You know what I'm used to, because you can see where it's black dancing. It's not. It doesn't. It's you can see the Latinos do it, but you can see how they saw these guys do it, and then kind of shifted it, made it maybe more scientific. You had the Crazy Commanders, and then the TBB guys kind of changed the form a little bit because of music too. You know, you could see the bounce in him. You know, damn, that was good. I didn't expect to watch Pee Wee.
That tap influence is all in there, man, and that's that's the culture. You know, so you know when we talk about the culture, that is it, and that traces back to a lot of older, you know, black dance forms and music. You know, that's what it is, and the rest of us from that point on are just doing our interpretation of what that is. You know what I mean? So we always got to give love to that. That's the originators, man, and you can see it. You can see it. Just let him do a couple steps. It's all there, bro. You know, that's it.
Is that guy still around?
Yeah. I was just talking to him the other day. Yeah. Pee Wee's the man, bro. We had a lot of conversations about, life in general. He's got a lot of Harlem history. That's really dope. Harlem, again, is another place that doesn't get as much love about hip hop. They always talk about the South Bronx, but if you just keep going a little more south, you're in Harlem, So he still lives there and everything. I mean, the history of Harlem, man, that's New York. I mean, bro, we talk about fashion, we talk about like music, like
the music, yep.
Man. Everything
Dipset,
on
all those dudes, you know what I mean? Like, was it? Is it
yeah.
Hollywood? Hollywood's from Harlem too, right? DJ Hollywood, right? Is it Hollywood?
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Dapper Dan era.
Yeah, for sure.
Bro, it's crazy.
There it is. I think that's going to be required homework for any of the viewers. Freshly Dressed is on YouTube. That whole documentary, they break down fashion, and they talk about how the B-boys influence everyone else. You know what I mean? B-boys influenced. We were the first hype beasts, right? Mm-hmm. B-boys were the very first hype beasts. We were into sneakers before.
The early streetwear comes from breaking, letters and stuff like that. Hold on, yo, show and tell.
I got some relics. He got some toys. Yo, so I know we normally keep it around an hour, and I know you're trying to jump into the battles, but we're gonna dive a little deeper into musicality.
Right. Let's get it.
Iron on letters right here.
Oh, damn, like that.
I'm still making shirts and stuff like that.
That's fresh, man.
But I wanted to show you that Dapper Dan book, but it's cool. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks, man. Yo, Tony. Yeah. Yo, Jay, let's roll. Let's go.
Okay, word. We're at
1:30, but
up into this lab. I just walked in the door and went straight to what's behind us right here. This is toys for grown-ups right here, guys. This is science at its finest. And we're going to get Why Not to kind of talk a little bit about musicality. But you started to ask him something, and I think I want to dive a little deeper into it. You were talking about where DJs are now. They're digging. They're doing their thing. I love the music. I've gotten to a point for sure within my practice where I needed that style of music where it was driven and not as much dimensions as Castles in the Sky, not as much swing. I'm not even gonna start using terms that I don't fully understand and can articulate as much as Why Not. I'm gonna let him talk about it. But Why Not? I want you to talk a little bit about if we look at your dance, man, you clearly know the traditional music, the Latin side of things. I would love for you to give us and the viewers kind of a rundown of why the original music that we broke to, and even in the 70s, and especially from where you are from with the Latin influence and whatnot, why it was so rich, and how, from my observation, you have access to improvisation and spontaneity. And I personally feel like it is missing with today's music. And, we have the whole copyright thing that we all spoke about over the past episodes, and we all know already. And the DJs right now, again, man, they're taking it to another level for sure. But that was a topic within the first episode with Charlie Rock, right? It's here we are with the music. I would love for you to kind of give your thoughts on that. And then I want it to lead to what can we do and what can DJs do exactly right now to kind of help add depth and richness to it. And do you even think that it's needed? That's 3 questions. Sorry. We can
I don't know where to start, but
we'll just start from
let me try to jump in on that.
Musicality.
Go.
I'm just gonna go off what you last said, I think, bro. But that's the only thing I remember right now. But the DJs, I think because we have a lot of DJs now that are producing music, right? And they're playing that music so that we can have copyright free, music available for those that want to stream their events or whatever. And that's dope because that opens up a lane for dancers to become musicians, and do it for the scene that they're a part of. And I think that would be really dope. But electronics can only go so far also. And I think that there's a real understanding that comes from playing percussion and playing other acoustic instruments, um, being a part of an ensemble of sound also is really important. Like, for example, like, you know, yeah, there would be uh things laying around, like, for example, like, wood blocks. I got a whole box of stuff over there, but like cymbals and um you know shakers and all types of stuff, and you play along with the music. um that would happen often in places that I would go. Sometimes in certain clubs they have someone playing conga along with the DJ. That element, I think, is missing a lot within our scene. We try to bring it in sometimes. Like, sometimes you'll see a live drumming situation happen, and that's important. But it's not just that those instruments are there, but it's the fact that the human is playing those in real time in front of you, and which adds to more spontaneity. It adds to more, you know, you don't know what's about to happen. It's improvisation, and something could go wrong. You know what I mean? Like, something could shift at any moment depending on what that person decides on doing. And I think that element of not knowing all the time, like, we have records that we've heard millions of times. Like, when I started dancing to the music the way I was doing it, and people were like, yo, you choreographed that, I'm like, no dude, I heard that song 50 million times. Like, I know that horn was coming. It comes every time on the same time. Like, it's the same thing every single time. Like, if you heard the record before, you know it. And that's cool. But that, after a while, as a mover, that wasn't as exciting for me anymore. I wanted different sound. I wanted different music. I wanted to be able to have a conversation with someone else who was playing the sounds. Like, if you look at, like, uh rumba, for example, or there's dances that the drummer is watching the dancer and playing along with the dancer. The dancer would do something, and then the drum would follow, or vice versa. There's a conversation there. Like, there's certain things in cultures that we don't really necessarily do. So we're not connected to the sounds like that. We're not connected to different rhythms like that, because we're hearing recorded music all the time. The syncopation hits differently when you can feel it next to you, as opposed to being as close to the speaker as possible. You know what I mean? Like, you're hearing the resonance of the cymbals and the hi-hats. You're hearing the reverb of the room that you're in around you when the drum set is in there with you. So I just think that's certain things that we need to maybe start inviting into the space a little bit more, and being more comfortable with that. I mean, that would fix a lot of our copyright issues if you literally just pay for a drummer to play while we battled. It would be a different feel. I know Massive Monkeys were doing that for a while. Like, in the finals, they would just have a live band play for the final.
Mex was doing that too.
Yeah, that's tight.
Outbreak, yeah.
You can do that the whole jam. But I don't know. I mean, I would also just encourage dancers to get into more of the overall hip hop experience. Play instruments if you can. If not, try to DJ. And there's plenty of stuff out there, technology wise, that you can get involved. And tapping on a table don't cost you nothing. That doesn't cost you nothing. When I first started sampling sounds, and I still to this day get most of my sounds off of wood blocks and bells and small cymbals, bags, anything I can find that makes a sound that I can call like my own, versus like just grabbing a sample off of a record all the time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I was
Scratch Kitchen.
Answering any of them questions. I'm just rambling at this point. But
no. I mean, that's it. That's it for sure. And that's what they had in the day as well. I mean, the whole structure of it was dope too. The amount of times that it changed, and the amount of percussive elements that created. I like that word, ensemble. That's a good one for that. That did definitely add dimension to it. It had different feels. It allowed you to experience it in a different way and express it in a different way.
Yo, So besides having a live drummer, right, at an event, right, I won't say a jam, at a competition, what do you think that the break DJ, I don't want to say DJs, I want to say break DJs, because most of the break DJs can't spin a club. So let's just be specific. They spin event,
Yeah.
they spin for the breakdance events.
Yeah.
For those who want to produce music,
Yeah.
because obviously a lot of it sounds like, okay, let me loop this, amen break, and then put a 90s, variation of CNC Music Factory. Now it's a B-boy break battle song. What's your suggestion to those guys that were B-boys that became DJs but still don't know how to rock a club? Sorry, I'm going to go there, and then want to produce the music and give it maybe an authentic feel of maybe a 70s acid rock, acid rock thing, or
I would say try to make a song.
yeah.
Don't just make a break.
Would you just okay? You talking about full composition versus just
Absolutely, because that's it in its full context, like if you make a break, you're basically just making a loop. It's like making a hip hop track.
Yep.
But without any switch ups or changes or anything like that. Yeah. Like I love producers that can flip a sound and bring you into a whole nother dimension, like 2 minutes into the song, like the way that it used to happen on old funk records, right? Like there would be a whole story, and then all of a sudden you're in the break, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? But it's the understanding and in the context of the rest of the song as to why that switch up changed, as to why that moment happened. We focus so much on that small portion of the record, but there's this whole other song and all of the rest of the song. And all of that means something to that section. All of those instruments are also being played prior to that moment happening as well. And there's like a setup almost for that break. And the more you understand that stuff too, is more important. I remember like I did an interview with Scheme like early, and people were so mad at me because I was explaining why I only have so many hip hop records in my collection. Everyone's like, how you gonna be hip hop and you ain't got no hip hop? And I'm like, well, because I listened to the records that they sampled more. And I don't not saying that the hip hop is bad, but I was more interested as a dancer, especially, and as someone who is interested in sampling sounds, the whole record, because there's an amazing composition there, and there's an understanding of other different timings and stuff like that. When the break comes in, that's one section, that's one perspective. We need to hear the rest of that record too. We need to understand, why did that break come in at that moment? What instrument is that? What am I hearing right now? All of that, So I think if they got more into just music in general, music making, all the breaks will not sound similar or too stale. You know what I mean? Because they'll have all these other influences that they can pull from.
Boom. There you go.
That's a damn good answer right there. That's what I was trying to dig out.
I would even say this. If you want to get even more crazy, you create the whole song, and then you're the DJ, so you get to loop the break where you feel like it in real time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yo, there's so many times I hear like, at events, like where they choose to loop a certain part of a song, and I'm like, nah, not there.
Or where they cut it off. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, or they cut out like, ODB's verse or something. I'm like, you don't do that. Like, you play all of ODB's verse. You don't, cut that. It's like, yeah, there's certain things or certain moments that I'm like, if you bring back like Apache, for example, all right, that's a very classic break, Apache. But there's that guitar, riff right before the break, right when it comes back, and Flash and other, they would scratch that small guitar moment before the break comes back, and then the beat starts, but they're playing the end of the break that has that guitar coming in. So that element, if that's not there and it's just drum by itself, like you're missing out just that intense like guitar moment. Like I don't know, there's just like small things like that. It's like Dilla would do that with vocals, right? There'd be this like swung funky beat, and then you'll hear it's like right before the vocal was about to start, he cuts it, and you just hear a little boom, and it goes back to the beat again. It's like those little elements are like.
Took me a while to appreciate Dilla, man. I didn't like him. I really didn't like him when I first heard him because it was like, what is this? Then someone had to explain to me, oh, he's going off beat on purpose. He took the quantifier off to make it give an organic sound. I was like, oh, I get it. Because I didn't like Beats, Rhymes, and Life. I was like, what is this? This ain't Q-Tip. Like, you know what I mean? Wow. Like, for me. But then now I get it. Now as a producer, because the whole thing is when it's this too much, it's monotonous and it doesn't have that swing.
This is perfect. Getting into would you mind showing us a little bit about what you're talking about with this right here?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear too much, but
put that mic up.
I'll just use one example of like a hi-hat, right? And it's exactly what you were talking about, Profo, because that's how I think about some of these breakbeats that we're hearing. It's very much just like this, like constant same kind of sound, and in a similar way. So like, you know, before Dilla, you would play your hi-hats really, you know, locked. It'd be like, can you hear that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then Dilla would like sometimes drop hi-hats out, or what he would do is like super swing them. They sound like this. Right? And that's like wrong, quote unquote, right? But it's like,
exactly,
you know, and
exactly.
So there's a clip, and if people are watching this, you can look at Red Bull Music interviewed Questlove, and he has a section. I think they isolated that clip too, but he talks about
the drunk drum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And he explained it the same way you did. You were like, I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? I don't understand what this is. And like he was saying too, when he first heard Dilla's drums, he was like, they sound like, what do you say, a 2-year-old played it or something like that, right? But that's that drunken feel, and it gives you a really lazy but a heavily swung sound. And that to me is very similar to a lot of jazz, because that time constantly shifts. And when we talked about ensemble earlier, what I was saying was, you know, jazz musicians, they're looking at each other all the time, most of the time, or they can just play by ear. They know if the drummer is going to go off into this whole nother time change, they're just going to follow, you know. And it's hard to understand sometimes because you're hearing all the instruments go off what seems to be on their own rhythm, but they're all playing in time. You know, and I feel like Dilla's drums are similar to that. The kick is doing something, the hi-hat is doing something else, and the snare's showing up whenever the hell it feels like it. And you're like, what? You know, but it feels good. And that's the key. It's all about the feeling. It's all about that vibe. And if you're not connected to that, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing I discovered. It's like it does have an organic sound to it, even though it's digital. And I think that's the revolution that Dilla did, right? It was like that was the revolution of just it sounds organic, even though this is a canned beat, this is a programmed drum. And I didn't get that for a long time until I was like, okay, I get it, right? Because I was so used to, I want that boom bap. Give me that straightforward, you know. But you know, and I think a few producers definitely, you know, I think a few b-boy producers definitely study it, but I still don't hear it. I still don't hear that organicness in a produced track. Again, probably because you're right. They're only doing a loop. They're not really doing a full song.
Even with that, you should be able to, you know, like for example, a lot of my loops that I make, there's one or two elements in there that I play through the whole track. Right. So even if I have like a let me see if I can do something real quick. Hold on. All right. Hold on. All right, let's say I have a kick and a snare like this, right? And that's loop. That's just looping all the time, is doing its thing. But I play the hi-hats throughout the whole time. Now, just to have one element of the sound consistently changing from beginning to end, or not locked to that loop that same way that kick and that snare is, already adds an organic feel to it. So it's like you got to have something that's not easily recognizable every time it comes back around again. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like that's a way that you can do that without even doing too much. Like I could just let that loop for 2 minutes and play those hi-hats the whole 2 minutes until I'm done recording. Like it's all good.
That's dope. Yeah, that's different. That'll give like definitely a different feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. That's dope. That's education right there. You taking notes, guys?
And then
taking notes?
The other flip side of that. So like what I said about for example, Apache, right? When that guitar riff comes in, whatever, is to also think about the DJ while you're producing the track and give the DJ elements of when to kind of cut and bring it back.
Right. Give them
sometimes
give them something to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes there's 2 parts in a break that you can literally cue it here or cue it here and loop each section differently, but it's the same song.
Right.
So if you even switch the beat somewhere in the middle of that loop, you're giving the DJ at least a couple of options. You know what I'm saying? You're not just running through like, here's my break loop and then just play that over and over,
Right. There you go.
There's stuff we can do, man, for real.
100,
there's a lot we can
100. Do. I think, because of time and them not being around, a lot of like musicians and or DJs, man, that different genres, you know what I mean? Different genres of DJs, different, you know what I mean? Because like I think they're coming from a mixtape and blending perspective versus like creation perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Try to like, again, going back to the digging experience, like on the back of a lot of those records, they tell you what the instruments are that you're hearing and who's playing them. That's how I found a lot of the other songs, by the names of the, musicians. That's how, I found out that, the Collins brothers were playing on Push On Jesse Jackson. Like, I was like, damn.
Right. Or even the label, like, right? The label of the record. Like, does the label have does the label have, the Stacks have any other artists that I might be interested in?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's, there's so many like links to other things, and that's ways you can dig, right? You can totally now Google that and get the whole bib.
100, dude, right there. Gosh. Right there. You don't have to be at
the whole catalog.
The atmosphere of like having dusty fingers, right, is, it's still experience, but then if you can sit there and get the whole catalog and just like kind of like, just click on a mouse, it's a little easier. You can still, the sound's still the same sound, you know what I'm saying? It's just you won't have the experience of just being there at a swap meet or a, or a garage or a Salvation Army. You know what I mean? Digging for records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Jay, give me your opinion, man, because this is like, you're getting this education from old guys.
I'm in the spaceship right now. I'm in the lab, man, the mad lab, just trying to really comprehend and process things. In the subject of musicality, a lot of the stuff you guys are talking about, I'm processing, honestly. But why not? Earlier you were talking about transients, and I put other words. Is it transient beat or?
Well, just to like get a particular sound, because I do a lot of like sound designing. Like I try to get my own samples, so I'm not just like grabbing samples from something else. And I'll bang on stuff, whatever is around the room or whatever. But sometimes too, I'll take a sample and cut the transient of it. And what that is usually the peak moment. Either in the beginning of a sound or at the end of a sound, you catch the tail end of something. Like I had recorded Matt, playing whatever, like he was playing his Rhodes, keys on his story on Instagram, and he was like, somebody sampled this. So I was like, I went in to sample it, whatever. But when I hit Instagram, it like opened up another story and caught the end of a story before his story started, and there was a sound that went like that, and then the Rhodes started playing, and I took that moment and I cut it and I made that the hi-hat of the sample. So I was like, it's like finding transients of sound, just sound in general, and showing how, you know, I talk about this with my students though, because we talk about sound design a lot. And how to, you know, gather found sound that you don't even need all this fancy stuff that I have. Like, you know, you don't need it. You can take certain, you know, anythings and turn them into kicks, snares, hats, synths.
That's so dope,
you know.
man. Yo, shout outs to Matt Nish from Battleborn out in
Word.
Las Vegas. Super dope producer, man. So could you sample? You sampled something about that. What we know, and you know what I teach, and you know I see a lot of people getting into the dance, whether they're like 5 years in, or you know it's usually around that duration that they've been training. They know the 8 count, right? They know the crash is coming on the 1. They can hear all the obvious stuff that they're basically in the, I'm gonna call it the Red Bull era, where it's the beats are manufactured from our scene. But the beginning and the end of an actual sound, that's like the advanced musicality, right? Understanding. And I never heard that term transient for that. I just know like the back of the beat, like you can sit back on the beat and have a more lax style as opposed to being on top of it, which we all start on, you know, on top of it, like, oh, okay, here it comes, I know it's coming. You're like overzealous with it, but it's very cool that there is a term for it.
Yeah, I think for the people who produce a lot of music and are into synthesis and stuff, they'll know what that is, you know. There's a lot of musical terms that we use in dance too that like are different in the music world versus the dance world. You know, they're similar in thought, but like, you know, it's used in a specific way with music, like in the pocket, for example, versus in the pocket for dance. I've heard some really weird definitions of what that is for dancers, you know. But you know, there's things that I envision, like sometimes I envision like a waveform, for example. So now I'm going into something else, right? Like visualizing what I'm seeing when I'm producing stuff, especially with electronics. You can see the waveforms and stuff, you know. Like if I have a sound here, you know, I can see the waveform. So if I zoom in on that, like it gives me a certain visual. And I don't know if y'all can see that, but anyway, you know, I'm sure y'all know what I mean. But yeah, I can see the peak moment of that sound where that transient is or whatever. And I think about too movement. What does that look like movement wise? When I hear a high pitched sound, you know, something like my body is reacting to that. You know, if I hear a heavy kick of a bass, my body is giving that, whatever that is. It's rounded, it's reverby, it's heavy. You know what I mean? So you start to embody the things that you're hearing. And I do think that is more musicality than maybe we explain in terms of musicality. I think having just musicality should be just you're on the music, you're in the time of the music, you're following the tempo in some sort of way. That's where that starts. You have to be in tune and in time with what's happening. I think that's key. If you don't have that, I don't know about other things in terms of musicality. From what I know in that term is that you are, and it's not about dancing to the sounds, you know, it's not about, oh, I'm on the horn, or it's that I'm in time with everything that's happening. You know, it's basically you are in tune with that metronome, right? If anybody knows what a metronome is, if you played an instrument before, it's that thing that ticks back and forth. It's keeping you in time. And that's what musicians do sometimes. They do that through communication with their eyes or tapping or snapping, or the drum is the person that holds that time for the rest of the instruments or the rest of the, you know, most of the time. So it's like, you know, as a dancer and being in ensemble, like playing in a jazz band, right? When I play my melody on the saxophone, I have to be in time with the drummer. If I don't, the whole song is ruined. Like no one knows what they're listening to. That shit sounds crazy. Or if I'm playing too loudly and I'm not fitting that saxophone in with the drum and the clarinet that's happening and the other percussion, and I'm playing too loud, it's not about me. You know what I mean? So like kind of knowing and getting in where you fit in also is really important. And as a dancer, there's all these sounds coming at you. There's ways that you can kind of swim through those things. You can point out things so people see them, and then there's a way that you're in it, that they're just feeling what you're doing. They just don't know why they like it. Yes. They're like, yo, that shit was crazy. I don't know why that was so dope, but it's like, because you're not necessarily dancing on the horn or the drum you're in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's that being understanding, like being a part of the conversation versus like,
it's like the atmosphere. You're in the atmosphere of it. The atmosphere, you're in the atmosphere of the groove versus like, here's the groove, guys, and here's the cymbal crash, air chair.
Yeah. And that's being in tune with the time or the mood of the music.
There you go. The mood of the music is a good thing that no one really pays attention to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even or to like message. What time? Yeah. Even the time period. When was this song done? And what were the dances? What's the vibe of the dances they was doing back in, late 60s or, early 60s? And you know what I mean? Like you embody that. I call it the atmosphere of like, and that's like you're reenacting the history, right, of that song, that time period. You know what I mean? You're getting understanding of the composers of that song, and that gives you a different feel. It just gives you a different feel, period. You know what I mean?
Or you're, even if you can't take a time machine back to that time, you're reacting to that message today. I'm sure when James Brown says, I need money, I'm singing that shit too, because I need some money too. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's some of these are universal messages as well, or maybe you interpret it in that way, but it's like you're attaching to something of the record. So like, that's important, like getting into that understanding of what you're listening to. I used to read my lyrics of songs, or not my lyrics, but lyrics of songs to the students, because I said, you don't even know what they're singing about, do you?
I do not know. Like I hum it a lot of the times, but it's important.
Absolutely. And a lot of that is the social political issues of that time, right?
100. So most of the songs we dance to have a social, like, is it Jimmy Castor, Rant? Is that Jimmy Castor? Rant. It's about Rant. Turn the TV on, and the children, you know what I mean, talking about the war. Yeah. You know what I mean? That still relates today, right?
It definitely does. It definitely does. And if you feel something about that, that's going to come out when you dance to that song, because those lyrics are also resonating with you in a different way. Like, it's hard for, I think, people that don't speak English, for example, to feel the music like that, because they don't know what those words represent. They don't understand. They can still get a mood, right? A mood check, an attachment to that. But like those lyrics, I don't know, and maybe a lot of us can't, even though we know what the words mean, maybe we've never experienced that before. So there's a lot of things that, you have to find then other things in that sound that are, talking to you in that way. You know what I mean?
Word. Have you ever gotten a track that you didn't know?
Yeah, lots of times.
Like, do you have any advice or tools that you could suggest? And as for myself, and I know a lot of people that I see as well, that could help you get in, the music. Obviously understanding, like what you said, digging, right? Understanding the different instruments that are in it.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Find that time.
The drum.
And whatever spoke to you first. So maybe that's what hits my ears first. I can't really say.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm locked into the time almost immediately. I hear it. I'm like, okay, this song does this. That's the first thing. And then, what really hit me at the core first? Was it that bass line? Is it the sound of that snare? Is it just the rhythm in general? Like, I don't know, something else is going to then talk at that moment. But the timing is so important. As dancers, like we, because then we know the landscape at that point. You know what I mean? It's like, if let's say you say, hey, I want to draw something. And I'm like, and I give you a pencil.
Go for it.
What are you going to draw on? What is the size of the paper? What kind of texture is that thing that you're drawing? You don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, once you lock in the time, that gives you like your paper. You know the landscape now. You understand what you're working with. Now all those other things, because you can start to hear those things and attach to those things. But like the timing is the key as a dancer, right? Because we're visually interpreting what we're hearing. And if you go in there and just start doing whatever, and the tempo is going, and you're just like, hey, I don't know, that could look really crazy.
And they come back to it though. Oh, then you're doing some Jay Dilla stuff, man. Then you come back like, what the?
But even Dilla has a time though. Like even
yeah,
Dilla has a time that he's rocking with still, and it's like, even though it fluctuates, right? It's still something that you can follow, and it's like these dances honor rhythm most of the time, right? So it's like, if you're not tapped in rhythmically, timing wise, then they'll tell you you're off beat, or you didn't win, or whatever, if you're in a battle, or yeah, they're okay, they're not really that dope. It's because you're not locked, and we want to see you locked to that, like attached to the sound like that.
How important do you think that is with our cultural art form, especially in the competition format, musicality?
Well, from what I was told, that was one of the highest values. It's one of the highest values, and I think that's also why. Huh?
But is it though?
Right now, I don't know. I mean, it's probably different for other groups of people and individuals, right? But like, from what I was taught and what I understand and what I really gravitated to personally, I thought that was it.
I mean, the name of our art form is breaking.
Yeah. Yep.
So it makes sense. I mean, it being the DNA of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I think this segues perfectly into checking these battles out right here.
Man.
What are we watching?
Man. We're watching the finals of the Breaking for Gold Orlando. We're gonna start with the B girl. You let us know, Jay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo, thanks for sharing that one out, by the way.
Of course, man. Thanks
for having me. A lot for me. Like over the.
Go ahead.
My bad, Pro. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jay. You're saying something. My bad.
Yeah, over the past month, I've been digging into it. I've been researching Clyde Stubblefield and Jabo. They have a ton of interviews, and just from hearing them talk about it, I went to practice that day, and I felt smarter. I felt connected, and I felt a lot more meaning to the movement and steps that I was doing. Anybody, I definitely recommend looking into that and digging, studying the music, studying the people that made the music. Gives so much context to what we're doing.
If you want to understand the culture, you got to understand the people, man. 100%.
Yeah, and this is the thing I'm going to comment on this because we're going to talk about Hijack soon, but I'll save it when because this whole episode we're talking about musicality and why. I'll go, knowing Hijack personally, I could tell you some of the stuff that influenced him as far as movement.
Are you ready for the girls or what?
Yeah, let's see the B girls. Is I believe it's LaVix and Pepsi. I think this is Pepsi's first gold, I believe. We'll see.
That's what's up.
So LaVix is not new to the finals, man. She's been in the finals like what, 4 times already? If not winning.
I think every time, man.
Yeah.
She was in the Vegas finals.
Right. And then she won in Minnesota. Okay. Dr. Freeze. Unique Thread. Again, that Bay Area influence from Circle Fire.
She's not crazy with her musicality, but she seems like her timing is good.
Yeah. Now we got Pepsi. Yeah. Talk about dancing, right? Natural.
Her energy already off the bat. It's like, there's sometimes like,
ooh,
people.
Yo, she's looking good, man.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I never seen her this strong.
Oh, I think she's been like this. It's just been hard for her to display it in these events. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen her before.
Yeah, she does a lot of really
She's
dope
dope.
stuff. I think it
Yeah.
doesn't always come out during the
Yeah.
battles. You know.
Yeah. So this is crazy for me to see because I've seen Pepsi in battles, and she funks it out a lot. She dances and it's dope, but then sometimes it doesn't translate so well. Sometimes it's not as clear, right? Like her movements aren't clear sometimes. Which again, when you're in that freestyle mode, it's kind of harder to execute sharper movements.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, she's gaining experience now, right? And her confidence is growing like a lot. You can tell, like
because she has that natural. She has that natural dancer. She's a natural dancer. 100%. And look, whoa, she's up. Yeah, dude, this is not the Pepsi I'm used to seeing. Oh. Whoa.
Yeah, she's not playing.
Dude, this is definitely not and this is no diss to Pepsi, but
wow.
Because she'll usually like go to a freeze and fall out of it a little bit and freestyle off of that. But she's like hitting her moves hard. Yeah. Like that extra twitch muscle.
She got stronger through that round right there. That's how you
do it. And then Vicky's she's been in the finals at least 5 times this month, maybe 4 max. And her thing is a relaxed execution state. Like she's in this flow state that's relaxed and executing. But what Pepsi's demonstrating right now is just this hitting hard, but still. And maybe the possibility is she's actually dancing less on top, like less time on top rock, more to business. Now she's more on top. This is the most she's been on top the whole battle, this finals.
I mean, with that last round, honestly, she can
do it, right?
She can play in this one in a way. You know what I mean? She can just like stab in this round, literally, and just like not have to throw so much power punches.
Yeah.
That's so important to like really know where the energy of the battle's going while you're in it. It's very hard to do.
Yeah.
But if you can gauge that, exactly what to throw when. Like, Vic is real good at that, man.
Yeah. Wow.
That was dope.
Yo. All right. So we all know that. Well, now just to let you guys know that LeVix got silver and Pepsi got gold. That's probably the best performance I've seen Pepsi ever. Like in my honest opinion, like she killed it. Yeah, man. Because like what you said, Tony, it was like usually she's on top for a long period of time, and maybe she gets lost, and then when she's trying to translate that movement into execution, doesn't come off. The energy is already low, right? Her gas tank's already this. Like she used so much 60% on the top rock, by 40% she's trying to like go up and use twitch muscle and upper body strength. It's like kind of like it's already weighing down.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, and what we saw was those 2 rounds she did. She did it. She was funky, but she didn't stay on top except for that last round. It's almost like the serotonin was up and it's like, I got this no matter what. So let me go ahead and go. Right?
Yeah, she played that really well.
Yeah, that comment you made about like just her whole energy for the first 3 seconds was like, this is mine's. That's a real thing too. That's hard to do, especially in the finals. Yeah, bringing that energy like that.
Yeah,
that's owning that. That's owning it, man. That's when you're like, I'm not losing today. Yeah. Sometimes when you see that, that's hard to beat. When someone's in that element, you're like, damn.
And the Roots track to finish that battle off too. That must have resonated with her, right? The energy of that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And again, LeVix being in the finals for so long, and so many people seeing again maybe the possibility of the oversaturation of her being in the finals so many times. That could play a factor with the judges too, even on a subconscious level, not even on a conscious level, right? Then you see this new fire from Pepsi. It's like kind of like, whoa, what is this? You know what I mean?
Who were the judges?
It was Queen Envy, Cujo. I forgot the third. Let me check. Maybe they'll have it in the live stream. Go ahead and set up the finals.
Yeah, no, real quick. Pepsi has a nice style, man. That was my first time seeing her. It's a running style, right? That whole top rocking. She changes angles a lot. It really stands out against a style like LeVix, where it's not really very committal to shapes and positions, right? It's very flow oriented. and it's
Yeah.
it's easier to execute basically than what
Yep.
she did, but the energy is
Yep.
higher with the style like
Pepsi. So Maka was the third
Pepsi,
judge.
yeah.
So it's Maka, Queen Envy, and Cujo. Those were the
Okay.
judges. Yeah. So we already know what, like, Maka's preferences, right? It's definitely what Pepsi does. Like, you know what I mean? Just that dance, man.
Yeah, but her dynamics too, man. She was pretty
Bro, I'm
well-rounded in
telling
that
you,
battle,
man,
I'm
she's
impressed.
good. Pepsi's good, but that's the first time she's really was like, I'm hitting it. I'm committing, right? Like, I'm committing. I mean, if you see her other stuff, she always has this flow, but that's the first time I really seen her like commit. Like, nope, I'm sticking this freeze,
Yeah, that's good.
Yo, this looks like Ives right there. He's not the finals, right?
No,
No, it's
next one.
the kid from Texas,
This is it.
Oh, there's it. Okay.
Valencio and Hijack. Valentino? Is it Valentino?
Oh man, they hit with this meth track too.
Yeah, this song is crazy. Yeah. I never got this in a battle.
Hold on, real quick. So tell me about that. Why is this song crazy?
Which song? I can't even hear it. Sorry, guys.
Judgment Day.
Oh yeah.
So
It's the energy of it.
the energy is.
And the way Meth comes in the beginning is just like he just sets the tone.
I like this.
Oh no, not that part. I'm talking about his verse.
The whole minute, like.
Yeah. But this sound is like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like it's about the combination of sound. There's a lot of songs that are
There's like sirens in it.
Mhm.
His delivery,
You
the
hear
chorus,
this, like,
the chant
kinda-
element about it.
Yeah, something in the background's going ding, ding, ding,
Yeah,
all that, like that. Sometimes it's the recipe, and it doesn't have to be swung drums like we were just talking about with Jay Dilla all the time. Those drums could be straight. There's disco tracks that are just straight 4 on the floor, boom, 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 but they're so tough because for some reason that particular kick and that snare next to each other sound incredible.
Yeah.
And the melody could be real simple. The bass could be just one note, but it's just like all those sounds together create that mood that we were talking about. That's powerful. Like, yeah, it doesn't always have to be this kind of wild rhythm. It's a feeling inside of it. And this song
This track
has
has
something
it,
like
yeah.
This is like a battle. This is a battle cry.
This is metal, man.
Battle
It's
cry.
metal.
Ooh.
It's metal.
Yeah.
The song's
the
metal.
reason
Look at even the music video too. Like, they look
Yeah.
like they're from like Mad Max. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's a
yeah.
whole apocalyptic theme, right?
Right.
Judgment Day. So it's just like the feel is like it's metal, bro. It's Metallica, but it's Method Man.
Yeah,
you know what I
man.
mean?
So that last the Vegas qualifier I did, I got that song, and I heard it before, but I'm like, oh man, the energy is crazy, and I was just sticking to the rhythm, and I didn't know the lyrics, and the lyrics are so fucking dope, man, in it.
Mhm.
And I felt like I couldn't really connect and maximize the beat, and I didn't perform very well. And the next day I listened to this song 100 times, man. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it said that right there. Oh my goodness. If I was conscious of it,
Crazy.
and I wasn't in the moment with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, rest assured if I get that song again. But yeah, my bad. Context before we get into it. Boom.
All right, let's watch this.
Watch it drop. I like how Jack takes it too.
You guys watched it already? I didn't watch this yet. I saved it for the show.
No, I ain't
All right,
watched
here we
this.
go. Shout out Toledo, Soul Signature, not Soul Signature. Forgot, but he has a store and a jam in Orlando. Shout out Toledo, the host. So it's Hijack from 808 Breakers versus let me say his name right because I've heard of this kid.
It's taking a mo to run to the Dell.
Valencio.
Like
Hijack
that.
versus Valencio.
Yeah.
All right.
See that sound?
That sound?
Yeah, that shit is crazy.
See my
Rich
pinky,
Pop.
see my thumb.
Rich Pop Flair, head cartwheel.
Smooth.
All right. Looks so good. So far, so good. Thread, elbow freeze. Bong bong. All right, Valencio, burn. So far, so good.
Yeah, he's pretty
Air
loose.
freeze.
You know.
Yeah. Flare, 90. Ooh, flare 90. Drop. Okay.
I'll still give that first round a Jack.
Yeah.
Same. All right. Shout out to Mr. Animation.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that move.
Straight to it.
Yeah. Thread. Yep.
See, the
Yep.
thing is with some of these moves that Jack's doing, that being looked at from the judge's angle could be really different from what we're seeing.
Right. Yeah. To the front of the camera.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah, his escape wasn't as smooth.
I mean, that's strong. That's a strong ending, man.
Yeah.
Swinging in with momentum to that extension like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Interesting. Thread, catch.
Yeah, I'll give him that. That was fresh.
Yeah.
It's tied for me right now.
Yeah.
Jack's got to be careful here, man.
Yep. Ooh. That was dope.
Yep.
Snappy.
All right.
Nice.
Dope.
That might be it. Yeah,
that was it.
Hard, like, you know.
This kid smell blood.
Yeah.
I think he's...
Serotonin is up. Yeah. Oh.
Already going longer though. If he's still going right at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not done. If he ends strong, then that's it. He just has to end strong. Okay.
Yes, that's still close to me, man. Even though,
let's talk about it.
You know, Jack didn't, you know, but I could read a certain way, and when you're in the space with them, you know what I mean? Like, it looked short. It was short.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to the finals, sometimes, man, you got to put the nail in the coffin.
And that's Jack's biggest hurdle right there, is putting the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Now we're talking. We're gonna bring it back around to the beginning of the podcast. Is that with Jack, he understands. He likes to make beats. He likes to know about it, right? Like he likes to. He has the knowledge. He's a seeker of knowledge. He follows all the dope producers. He's into fashion, so that's another thing. It's not he's coming from an artist's perspective of breaking, right? Like he wants the art. So he wants to embody the art in breaking. I think that's his mission because he understands that a lot of competition b-boys are just stuck on like winning the competition, and that's what makes Jack like the people's champ right now.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge of it is that his emotional attachment to the artist might make him lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you want the art more. You want the art more than execution. That will stop you from putting the nail in the coffin because I've done enough. He's not on my level artistry wise. You know what I mean? He's not on my level artistry wise, so I don't have to I did enough. That was dope. But what if the judges don't think that was dope? Then it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
It's like the fear of over delivering to take away from my artist expression. It's like Plato's, tortured artist.
Yeah. I mean, he could have just snapped in the end. He didn't have to. Really, he didn't have to do any more because his combos already were stronger, right?
Yeah.
He's doing flare combos and bridge combos. And he stuck them pretty well. So all he had to do was just fill in that ending with whatever, bro. He could have just snapped and started doing footwork and tops and did all the artistry.
Kind of what we saw what Pepsi did.
Exactly.
Kind of what we saw Pepsi do. She went with it.
Yeah.
She went with it.
So it's not necessarily a big move. It doesn't have to be a big move for him. It could be just, after I just did this combo, which I know that could possibly be enough for this round. but I can't stop my round though, because I don't know what you're about to do. But I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you capitalize on this though. I'm gonna do a hard combo, and then I'm gonna finesse the hell out of the ending.
Because it could have been like, Cece, look at you. Cece, look at you. Like some character like thing. You know what I mean?
Just played. Played.
Yeah.
You know, totally.
Yeah, kind of building off what you're the point you're making, like the curse of the artist, right? Like maybe he wasn't feeling the track at the end to be able to do that. I mean, and that could be speaking from my bias. You know, that's why I feel like this whole topic of musicality is important, and why I asked you, like, hey, you know, if it's a track you're not feeling or you don't even know, like, you know, where do you go? How do you add that extra oomph, that extra nail in the coffin? I thrive on those moments when the track is like, oh, okay, boom, I can let go right now. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I just feel what I'm doing right now. And this track is so rich for me that whatever I do, I can produce value and energy with minimal effort.
Yeah. And if you're not getting that from the music, then that has to come from you. You know, so his like, you're not beating me or whatever energy needs to come out at that moment. You know, the song is basic. I think it was. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. It was just some simple riff that was going back and forth. He could have just got up, was like, you done. Like, I got you. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just played it out. You know what I mean?
Because the kid did, like, Valencio did kind of mess up on the head spin, but he did exactly what we wanted Jack to do. Just keep going till you just strike gold, right? Like, keep digging then. Keep fishing till you, because then, you know what I mean? Because that did say that I wanted more, especially if you're going out first, right? It's easier for the guy to counter and go, okay, I'll just extend the round a little bit more and just want it more. I'll just be more hungry, right?
That's a whole other aspect of battling, especially on the stages like that. Right? It's like, it's almost like a fight. Like, you know, bro, a perfect example is when you watch you know, who has the hardest punch in the game, lose a fight. You know, and it's like, because the other person wanted it more, sometimes that's all that needs to happen, you know. It's
all they did was 1-2. Like, Tyson Fury just did 1-2. That's it. That's it. That was his only combo. He feint, 1-2, the whole match, and won. That's all he did.
You watch these other B-boys and B-girls who just have confidence, and that one step looks like 10 steps.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's the energy behind it. So you don't have to do no spectacular ass shit. You don't have to like do the hardest move. Yeah. Whap, whap, boom, and just be like, yes.
Yeah.
Answer that.
And I think, you know, comparing to Pepsi, because we could say that Jack and Pepsi kind of have the same philosophy and approach. Not same moves, the same, like what they're trying to, the spirit they're trying to invoke, the style they're trying to invoke, like, hey, I got this funk, you know, and you guys don't have it. And the thing is, like, Pepsi kind of did what Jack did prior. Pepsi used to kind of break like that, like, boom, boom, enough. Or she would slip and then, like, she would try to Harry Houdini out of it, and it wasn't always translating. But this time she was like, there's no Harry Houdini. I'm just going to lay it on you. And then when she felt secure, then I'm going to funk it out. And the very little looked very big at that point in the third round, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she was not losing.
Nope.
Because homegirl on the other side wasn't dancing like that too. So really put the nail in the coffin right there. Like, you already went up twice, and you're, you know, just basically stepping in to hit the ground, you know. Not really talking up top, not conversing up top, and that's another thing, right? Showing what the other person's missing, right? Showing your competitor what your competitor's missing. I'm showing you my strength, and I know you can't match it. You know what I mean? It all goes into playing timing, though. You gotta do it in the right time. If you have enough energy, this and that, blah blah blah, right? Yeah. Yo, well, back to the Jack thing real quick. Shout outs to Valencio, right?
Valencio, yeah. Shout outs to Valencio, man. Young kid coming out. Texas.
Yo, we wanted to see more from Jack, but Valencio's last pattern was dope, man. That was nasty.
Yeah.
He was attacking it from a different angle, like his foot
Yeah.
strike, and setting it up dope, man.
Yeah.
So that was the nail for that.
Yeah.
Energy wise, they both had a little slip up.
Yeah.
He was just producing more shapes, man. So putting
Yeah.
out more punches that was hitting. At
Yeah.
the end, those were landing.
Yeah.
That last
Yeah.
pattern that he put out. If he would have stopped, then yeah, it would have been close. But I think
Right.
that really, that
Again,
last
he this is the thing, it's still a battle. In the end of the day, it's still a battle. It's still fight or flight. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the end of the day, right? Artist, no artist, is still a battle. And that still has to and you know what? And and this is where it's going to be the argument, but that style's whack, but that was whack. But it's like, but who won? Who wanted it? Who won?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's where you got to drop your ego. You got to drop your artistic attachment and just go, I got to deliver if that's the case. If you're happy with that, at the same time, if you're, I'm just happy to be in the platform, I'm doing my thing. I'm an artist.
That's
who cares?
Good too.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's that approach too. I'm here. You know what I mean? But if you want to
if you like why'd I lose, you're gonna hear this other argument. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah.
You're gonna hear the possibility of why you did lose, But I don't think, I think Jack is not even in that mindset. I think he's just really trying to catch a vibe. And it's just it's dope that his energy is still being awarded to in that type of battle. You know what I mean? I mean, he's doing really well right now. And it's refreshing to see him, go out there, catch his vibes, still win.
Yeah, and he's building the performance side of it. Like you see him, what did he do? He just did Red Bull. I think he did IBE. He's doing these international battles too, and he's like, it's translating, this funk that he's doing, and that's not easy to do on the big stage.
Right.
Yeah, that's real.
To be able to produce that feel on the big stage is really dope, and I think that's what's gonna make us stand out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen Jeffro on the big stage, like internationally do it. He's
done a few things. He's done a few things. Yeah, he's done a few things for sure.
But so you mentioned that musicality is high in the value system of how we express and how we perceive this dance and what we're doing. Are there any other things you could kind of throw in there just to kind of wrap this up and since we're talking about judging and all that?
Yeah, I just think like people being as authentically themselves as possible.
Exactly where I wanted it.
That's the key, like really, there's also a value on originality, and originality doesn't mean that you're just moving so different, like we've never seen this before, but it's just you being you, and when we see you, we're like,
it's a feeling too.
That's him.
When you see somebody, being authentic. It's 100%. A feeling.
Yeah. So it's like there's there's dance is one of the most honest things you could do. So if you're faking it, we can see that. We can feel that. And unless you're like tapped into, you and your history and your, yourself, we'll smell that it's not, so it's hard, man. But like, it's, there's a lot of like soul searching, I think, to do as a dancer, and the people that are connected to their life like that are usually some of the best dancers. They have an experience that they're expressing. So, we can see that. Yeah.
Dope. That's a perfect answer right there. And thanks for clearing that up as well. I know a lot of people, it's a common thing to kind of get into it and, original, I get to be me, and they're stepping out of like, they're doing things to their body basically it's really setting them back. Just long story short, you know what I mean? Trying these things out, it's like, hold on, like we have a natural biological blueprint that our body is designed to move a certain way. You don't have to bend your ankle right now. Like learn how to, move in timing on the bottom of your foot, right? It can plantar flex, our toes flex as well. Creates a solid rigid structure for us to produce force. You don't have to step on the side right now. Like learn that first, and learn how to keep timing with it. And from there, it's actually infinite. But that's a very simple way to put it, man.
You're basically scientifically saying you're whack, bro.
Me never. I think anybody who's even trying
is whack.
I want to be clear. Anybody who's trying, and especially doing it to breaks and within our culture, is smart and ahead of the game on a general scale. I just want to put that out there. Yeah.
I hear
Much respect to everybody who's
I'm right there with you, bro. I'm right there with you. Yeah, man.
Word.
Do you like any last words? Why not? Any shout outs, anything like that before we get into our sponsor? And
just word.
Word.
Oh
yeah, 2.5 hours in, man. This is our longest one so far. Yo.
Hell yeah. We were like an hour. I was like, I saw Jay was like, let's keep going. Hey man, you're the one who won. Shout out to Carl. He was like 1 hour. I was like, good luck. I'm like, good luck.
No, we got a lot of gems within this one. And
hell yeah, bro. 100.
Yo, yeah, thank you very much. Why not?
Thank
what
you.
you're doing
Appreciate
right
it.
now, like you're doing it on a high level in higher education, and to be able to get this information from you, man, it means a lot. And yeah, thank you very much for everything, your knowledge, your time.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
It's dope.
Yep. Thank you all to anyone who's watching and stuff or watches this later. Much respect. And yeah, man, hope to see Profo again sometime soon, you know.
Yeah, man.
In person.
Yes, sir. Old man stuff, man. I became a breakdancer, bro. I don't cypher.
Oh, word. That's tight.
I just compete. I just scratch. Well, no, actually, it's more like this. I have to choose. At a jam, I get too tired. I can't do. Kids could do both, and they should do both. Me,
I can't battle with these kids. There's no way.
Dude, I'm still doing it. Trick it. Why not? I'm opposite. I'm everything that you're like. There, you just sit around and stretch. Like, yeah.
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 I mean, it works for the competition. It does.
Yeah, exactly. But you know,
is it Scorpio? You're telling me if you got your favorite track came on, you're about to step in, and this young kid comes in, is like, nah, hold up, OG.
Oh, I'll give him one crazy ass round after that, though. That's when I just gotta walk away, because I'll be like, if you can't beat that round, then I think I won. You could probably do 9 rounds, and I could probably only do about 2 or 3, but still.
Yeah.
Which round are they gonna remember? That's what I'm at. That's what matters.
There you go. There you go. All right, Jay, what you got to say about Zen World?
I got to say, shout out to our sponsor, our CBD sponsor, Zen World. Roman over here, based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, supporting the culture, contributing where he can. And yeah, he's available for anybody to reach out to talk about health, to talk about CBD. It is an emerging market that is CBD is a non-psychoactive element, and there's full products, and it's essentially natural medicine, right? For more information, go to zenworld.com, use the promo code Gearheadz, and that is what I have to say. And I'm tired, bro. I've been driving past 2 days. I can't even keep my eyes open right now.
Yeah, Jay,
you go.
All
right. So, where can they find you on your social media? Why not?
Only Instagram. That's it. I don't do too much else besides
I tagged you on Facebook though.
Nope. Hell no. I don't even check that. I probably still have a Facebook page, but I don't.
Okay, word.
So find me on Instagram. You can check out my website, whynotism.com. But yeah, that's it. There's no other way unless you come into Texas.
There you go. And Jay, where can they find you?
Oh man, on here, Gearheadz Breakcast on YouTube, BTR Breaking on YouTube, BTR Breaking on every other platform you can think of. That is again BTR Breaking. You can find me in Houston. I am relocating. Very, very excited. I will be reaching out to Break Free, all the heads out here. I know Wicket's out here, Iron Monkey. Shout outs to the OGs, to me. Yeah, man. And that's all I have to say.
All right. And before I give my Yeah. Before I give my handles, I gotta give a shout out to the chat. There's two of my boys, Blackskin, who's in Taiwan, and the Great Pill Podcast. What's up, y'all? Thanks for
Cool.
tuning in late. This has been a 2-hour, 30-minute stream. You can find me on social media platforms such as Instagram at PROFO_FLGZ, on Facebook, facebook.com/PROFOWON, capital FLGZ, and right here on YouTube, Profo Won with the WON. This has been Gearheadz with our special guest, Why Not Ism,
Word. Thank y'all.
featuring myself and JaSoul. Peace. And we'll see you later.
Peace. Subscribe. Peace.